Okay, let's let the people come in and ask questions. I'm gonna go ahead and either one of you, Judah, Divine, did you want to add in, and then Judah, you can go after him?
Me and Divine has already had a discussion. I think we had maybe 2 discussions on it. Go ahead, bro.
Thank you. Peace, Divine. Shalom, shalom.
Hey, shalom, shalom. So yeah, shalom to Apostle Zachan and Diane. So shout out to you, Elder Apostle and Diane. I'm trying to get the gist of what this discussion is about. So forgive me because I came late. What is the proposition, and who's holding the affirmative and who's holding the negative? Just to kind of sum it up.
I'm going to let Devion go ahead and explain that since it was his debate initially. Go ahead, Devion.
Yeah, look. So basically, I was supposed to debate this dude Yasha, which he clicked the panel but didn't want to debate, which don't make no sense. So the debate was originally supposed to be, what language did the Israelites speak? Right? It was supposed to be like a 1-rounder or something like that. But then he was like, no, let's go 3 rounds. I was like, okay. So I was like, why don't the title be, what language did the Israelites speak? Ibrit or Yahweh-Dayah? Indo-European or Afro-Asiatic language. That was the title. He didn't want to agree on that topic when he says the language is called Ibrit. So I was like, yo, you only get Ibrit when you start using the dots and dashes. That's when you get Ibrit, and then you also get Ibrit only by using the dots and dashes. He didn't want to stand on that, and that it has influences from European languages. I'm standing on Yahweh-Dayah, which is what it says in the scriptures. From 2 Kings 18, Isaiah 36, from Chronicles, from Nehemiah, it says Yahweh-Dayah, the language of Judah. And it also says Aramaic, which they spoke Aramaic. And I even showed that in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's written in Aramaic and Yahweh-Dayah. It's both languages. Even the book of Daniel is written in Yahweh-Dayah and Aramaic. So clearly he didn't want to debate. So Apostle decided to step in his place, which Apostle initially said the language was Abayah. And I asked him, I was like, sir, can you please show it in the scripture anywhere? He couldn't show it, which means it don't exist. He went to the book of Jubilees where it says, quote unquote, Hebrew was a language of creation. And then tried to use the word Baré, which Baré does not denote a language. It denotes creation or something created or to create, not a language. So, I mean, that's basically what happened.
Let me correct that a little bit. Because I didn't use the word Baré. Let me show my screen again what I was going to do.
I'm sorry, he used Bara.
Yeah, but no, I wasn't. Bara was just impromptu. What I was showing in that, where is it at? Here. What I was going to show you in this, is it sharing?
Let me share it.
What I initially was going to share was the Hebrew scriptures restored in their original connected alphabet. See, I know where that word comes from. I don't have a problem with it. I used to get upset about it. I don't get upset about it no more. It's not sharing.
I don't know what happened.
Try it again.
Let's see here. Yours is Apostle Zaquan, right? This
Hebrews.
is. Let's see.
Right, Hebrews. That's it right there. You had it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me make it bigger again. Y'all let me know when it's big enough. Okay, when I got to this word here, that's when it just hit, ask him about this word. But this wasn't my initial reason for pulling this up. My initial reason for pulling this up was to bring us here. Because this is a complete Bible in Abayah. See? I was going to ask you to read that. Because if you can recognize the Tetragrammaton, the YW, Yahweh, Yahweh, and not Yahweh. If you can recognize that the word is Yahweh, not Yahweh, with an E added and the Wah taken out, why can't you do the rest of the alphabet, the rest of the language, the same way? Because that's all they're doing is adding these E's, these O's, these F's, which are not originally part of our language, which is affecting. Because if my name is Dawad, I'm not going to answer to David or Dawid. That's not my name. Okay? And I'm not even going to go to Yahweh Shai. I can just try to stay away from that word as much as possible, but I just can't get to that Shua, that Yahshua, when I know the suffix Shua means God cries. God cries. Shua means to cry out for help. I can't see my God crying out for help. So when you say his name represents the God of Israel, I can't see God crying out for help. Now I can see the man, Jesus, crying out for help. But why highlight that in his name? So I can't go with that, you know? I can't accept El, period. Whatever you call them, El Shaddai, El Elyon, none of these L's, because that ain't number Enel and inking them to me.
Okay, relevant.
So, irrelevant. So when you say Yasharel, you might as well be saying Israel, because it all means the same.
No,
Ish, man.
thing.
I'm going to be done in a minute.
It sound.
I'm going to be done in a minute. Ish meaning male, Ra meaning God, and El or Rish, man, the head of man is God in that Elohim word or Israel word. Where they get that Israel word from, I believe it's Yasharallah. It's a lie.
I told you.
But that ain't coming from the camps. Like I believe in the Lashawan Kadash, because I know the word Lashawan only means pure or tongue, and Kodash means pure. So the holy tongue, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, Yasharallah, Walla, Walla, Walla.
That's like how do you say tongue in Yahweh the wealth. How do you say tongue? Meaning your tongue in your mouth.
Lashawan.
That's right. So, why make fun of that? I got no understanding for it.
Because it's not Yasharallah.
I got no problem with that. The Bible said the tongue was holy. So I got no problem with that, but I can leave it, even though I was interrupted. I'm done. But yeah, this is the whole Bible, written in our language before Babylon. This is not after Babylon. You see that word right there? That's an I word right there. Aisha. H. Ha. The word the mountain or behold. Right there, Shah, devour, to destroy. That word letter, Ayan, I-Y-A-N, not A-I. That's why it's a no. That's a pupil.
I never said AI. AI is a
You did say AI.
It's a name. It's an ayan and a yard. It's the name of the city.
Talking about the script you put up. That script you put up was spelled A-Y-I-N.
So what?
Well, it's wrong. That's all.
Exactly. There's no I. There's no I.
Add the dots and dashes to it. You might as well.
I don't read the dots and dashes, sir.
Well, then you're reading the Masoretic. That's all you're doing.
Sir,
Just reading the Masoretic.
Masoretic text is only the dots and dashes. The Dead Sea Scrolls don't have
The Mexalectiones. Excuse me. The Mexalectiones.
Lectiones either, because they say a ha can make an E sound, an A sound, an O sound.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Well, there's no E sound in that. The Matres Lecciones doesn't have an E sound.
Yeah.
They say the ha
They have the Vav and the Yud that doubles as vowels, and that is what the position is. And then you have the He and Ha, depending on if it's a suffix or prefix, that also can double as vowels, right? But again, all of this is speculative because we don't have any vocalization marks, or what we call Nikud, from ancient times to determine what the reading style was in ancient Hebrew.
We don't need a Nikud.
I didn't say you needed it, but it was used to reverse engineer what you currently have today. That's how the science works in linguistics. That's how you was able to figure what you're using now as a vocalization system for the language based on the understanding and reading of the Masoretic text.
No, because they use the dots and dashes in order to get ibrit from a bar. It was never Iber.
Yeah, so what I'm saying to you is that in regards to linguistics of biblical Hebrew, what's now titled classical Hebrew, it was reverse engineered before you and I was born.
Way before.
Way to the research that you are currently doing today. So if it was not for that type of methodology used to analyze biblical Hebrew with other surviving Semitic languages, and then bring it back when archaeology came into the scene in late 1800s to the mid 1800s, you have Semiticists that are now doing archaeological digs and excavations and pulling out inscriptions and looking at the what we call comparative textual analysis between one text from one culture, let's say the Moabite stele, right, the Misha stele, with biblical Hebrew, or at that time inscriptional Hebrew, right? Because we have the Shalom tunnel inscription, we have the Tel Arad letters, and we're looking at them and we're trying to find similar roots, right, between the two. So all of this work was done before we were born. So we're able to now go back to the past because of the work that preceded what we're doing today. That's all I'm saying, right? And I was going to show a couple of sources if anybody is interested in reading up on this argument, so they don't have to take our word from it. They can just go see where the consensus is in regards to this current research and see where these opinions derive, because we all have an opinion on this, but a lot of times we're not given the source, right, or where it's derived from. So I just want to provide that so everybody can research on their own, and you'll be able to see what the discussion is really about. And there's one major source that I like to share. So I don't know if it's time for me to say anything, Napa. I know you're the mod, and this is Apostle Zakan and Diane's build, but is it okay?
It's all right by me, man. The more you share, the more I learn.
No, they don't mind. Go ahead. That's why I appreciate you coming in. But Judah, I think Judah wanted to say a couple things.
Sure. I'm letting go. Go ahead, Judah.
But definitely, we want your input. Go ahead, Judah.
Yeah, thank you, Shalom to the panel. Yeah, definitely. I just want to say real quick. I don't know what Apostle thinks. So for those who are like confused, there are like two A's, right, so to speak, right, in the alphabet, right? There are two A's, and the beginning of it is what they commonly call Elef, or the first letter, the A, you know, for A, B, whatever, right? So just to show that the pronunciation generally for the Aleph, the first A is A or at sound, is in the word like amen, which would be like so be it. Amath is also related to this word, which means like truth. As the brother Devion pointed out, the word leah, right? Because the word le, and also in quote unquote Hebrew and Arabic is no, right? Le. So her name is like a negation, like Leah, like in the feminine. Adam, right? For mankind. Adam. No one says Adam. Adam. Abraham. Right? No one's saying Abraham. It's Eb, which is like father. In modern Hebrew, they even call it Abib for Abiyah, which is like the springtime, beginning of the year. Right? The modern Hebrew says Abib, not Abib. So that just to show that the Aleph is, and choose real quick, not to be along with it. I get what brother's trying to say about the matrix lectionis and all this or whatever, and that's all well and good. However, when you got to start like researching who these people are, you guys are like trying to follow. That's just one path, and it's going to lead you to modern Hebrew, and then you read on their Israeli linguists what they say about what the language they use today. It's not considered Afro-Asiatic. It's more or less they used borrow lots of European words and what and just incorporated it within their what people term modern Hebrew today. So relying on dots and dashes and things, we don't have to get that. We have other streams like Dead Sea Scrolls. He wasn't incorporating dots and dashes in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's like one of our oldest writings. We still have like other Afro-Asiatic languages that survive today to use comparative linguistics. You don't need to follow hats but yeah, good job, bro.
Okay, thank you, Judah. Can you hear me?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Everybody just go and do what you need to do.
I was just going to say, I commend Apostle for taking Yasha's place, since he was beaten to the cheap seats without even hopping in the ring. But he want to keep talking from the chat. Sir, sit down on the couch. You might as well just hop in a casket with some French loafers and a tuxedo from Men's Warehouse, bro. Because you didn't hop in the ring, so which means you lost. But you want to hop on a panel and come up here talking like you know something, but wouldn't hop in the ring when we had a debate scheduled. So come on, man. You talking about respect? Respect is two ways. Yeah, you older than me and you an elder, but when it comes to the Torah, I'm not just gonna let you lie on the Torah, bro. And that's what it is.
Yeah. If I can just say something, I know Ron is probably about ready. Divine is probably ready, but knowing what the messianic, the metrics, with them, y'all help me out, man. Knowing what those rabbis did in the first century, 600 to 1,000, in creating the vowels and the dots, and what they created in Christ's time with the metrics, lectionis, and then what happened with us going into Babylon. My whole thing is, if we got the opportunity to go back before Babylon, when we were one nation together, and learn what they spoke there, if we have that opportunity, take advantage of it, because everything else is just influenced by other people, other nations, by the Babylonians. And what the Greeks did was just hell of fire. They just tore the language up. But a lot is on our own. A lot of it, God is showing us, as far as we walk away from our language, that's how far we walked away from Him. And that's the way I see it. And to get back to our language is to get back to Him. Because that's what He gave us in the beginning. That's what He spoke to Adamah. Just throw off in Judah on Adam. On Adamah. So that's my point, man. If we have that opportunity, why stop it? the Babylonians. Let's go back further. Let's go back where David Brenner found out alphabet, and then at the same time, he's trying to destroy it. At the same time, acknowledging it. Don't let him twist it, because he reveals it. God uses him to reveal it. Go ahead, Divine.
I just want to say something real quick. I do gotta go in a little bit. It's almost 10 o'clock, and I know Kiana looking at me like you better help with these kids.
Do what your wife say, do, man.
So, no, but I got
Peace in the house.
I got a little time. It's not 10 o'clock yet. It'll be 10 o'clock in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Got it. All right. So I see here that it seems like the point of contention and where the impasse is in regards to vocalization, right? And vocalization, because we have the absence of pointers, or what we call diacritic marks, in Hebrew prior to the Masoretic period. It seems like we are using a particular methodology trying to insert that vocalization there, or try to find out what was previously preserved, and how we properly pronounce it, so that way it aligns with the Afro-Asiatic languages. I think that's what the argument is. I think you both disagree in the usage of the Masoretic pointing or vocalization system. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That was added later.
Yeah, well, I don't subscribe to the Nakud or what they call the Tiberian quote unquote Hebrew, because there was a group of people who came up with this like vocalization vowel system that was never, never in foundational Israelite writings. Even in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it was never there. And even in the Dead Sea Scrolls that use the Paleo, if you look in there, I had like the study.
Yeah, 4Q22 is from Exodus, and that has the Paleo-Hebrew script. That entire fragment is Paleo-Hebrew, right? We also got it in Habakkuk, and we have it in other books. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Right? It's over, huh?
Say that again. Which
part? I said 4Q22 is a page from the book of Exodus that is written completely in Paleo-Hebrew script.
Is that in the Septuagint?
No.
Okay.
That's in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah,
okay.
4Q. Yeah, 4 is the designation of the cave. Q is the cave, and then the number after that is the chronological order in which the manuscripts were found, right, or the fragment.
Okay.
So it's the 22nd fragment found of Exodus in the 4th cave, right? That's what 4Q22. That's what that designation is, right? So we have Paleo-Hebrew there, and we have it in plenty of other places, mostly for the Torah that we have it. But then also, if you go into the places where there is Aramaic script amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Sakria Nomina, the sacred name, Yod He Wav He, right? Or we would say Ye, Ha, Wa, Ha, whatever you want to say it. They put that in the Paleo amongst the Aramaic script, right? What we call the square script, or the Ashuric script, or the Assyrian script. There's different ways in which it's called, right? Based on where you derive its origin from, right? So I think that's the main issue. So, okay, so let's push aside the Masoretic text. So a whole history behind that. And if you go to Manuel Tove's work that he does on a textual criticism of the Hebrew Bible, he shows the Proto-Masoretic text amongst the DSS, so the Dead Sea Scrolls. So there's a whole argument of data that supports that rendering that is preserved by the time we get to the Aleppo and Leningrad codices. That's really what drives your modern Hebrew text of the Old Testament that's used today. Those two codices, that pronunciation goes all the way back to the Dead Sea Scrolls era, and we find some of those amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls. Right. So if you want more information on that, again, it's called Textual Criticism of the Hebrew Bible by Emanuel Tov. He's one of the world's leading scholars on textual criticism of the Hebrew Bible, right? So that's the first thing I want to say if anybody's interested in regards to some of the earliest origins of what we call the Masoretic text and the Masoretic text pointing style. Now, also, are y'all aware that there's other pointing styles outside of the Masoretic text?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Are you, Dewan?
No, as far as what?
As far as pointings, the Nakud. There's other systems of Hebrew.
What do they call them? Cantillation marks, which is
cantillation marks go to show you that it is a reading that can be sung or used in a liturgical context, right, of doxology, of worship, right, within the synagogues or places of worship. But I'm saying that there are other scripts of Hebrew that have what we call Nukud, but is written differently. So amongst what we call the Cairo Geniza manuscripts, there are two vocalization systems preserved in there. There's a Babylonian and a Palestinian. So if nobody's familiar with these, don't look these up.
No, but let me ask you a question on that Nukud. Because the Kanud, when Christ said not one jot or tittle, was he talking? I don't think the Kanud was in use when Christ walked the earth. So when he said not one jot or tittle, was he talking about the Kanud?
Yeah, but some say it's the Yod and the Wav that he's referring to, right? When they say jot and tittle, and some say it could be the earlier forms of separation. So like in ancient Hebrew texts that are written in stone, there are little dots that are used to separate words, or what's called word dividers.
Right, those dots at the end of each word.
Correct. So they say he could be referring to that, or he could be referring to the Yod and the Wav. It's really open, really what he talks about, but it's something that helps to designate some feature that is distinct with the Torah, right? That he's referring to, because the law is contained in there. But then in the first century, they also included the Psalms as part of the law as well. And the prophets became part of the law as well. So you'll see that there's different designations and how the New Testament renders the Tanakh. And it's not always a preserved form that we have today. Because remember, we found over 6,000 manuscripts of the Tanakh, of the Old Testament, right? Different text types that come from a root family, right? So the root family, the parent families here, what they call the proto-script. And then from there, as the Jews were in the diaspora, scribes along with them, they're being dispersed in different regions, and they're copying it based on a tradition that they remember. And then sometimes the phonetics are adapted based on the current language they're speaking. So if they go into like South Arabia and they speak in Arabic, a form of Old Arabic, then that's going to influence the language. The same way that the Samaritan Pentateuch is influenced by the Arabic vocalization system, because they speak Arabic colloquially and they read the text with an Arabic accent, right? So it depends on where the scribes are at, the text type that comes with them, and where we find them at, right? So all of that affects the vocalization system. So the key question is, if we go before the diaspora, the key thing is before exile, what is or how was the language spoken, right? Because a script doesn't mean anything. For example, we have the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet. Are you familiar with the IPA? If not, you can Google it, look it up, ChatGPT it. But the IPA is a designation that you can transliterate any language on the planet into this International Phonetic Alphabetic script, right? So it can also represent English, just like we have the Latin script for English today, right? But we're not speaking Latin. So just because you have a script does not mean that's the language you're speaking. So if somebody was to find the Latin script in Old English and they look at it, like, for example, Beowulf is one of the earliest English, precursors to modern English texts that we have today. If you see how it's written with the Latin script. If somebody was to discover it today, understanding what the Latin script is and know Latin, and they interpret that as Latin because of the script, then that means you completely miss the language that the script is representing. So the oral language always comes before the written language, right? So I don't care if you use Paleo-Hebrew, if you use the Proto-Semitic, if you use the Monosquare script, it is just representing an oral language. So the script doesn't matter, right? So when we try to hinge the origin of the language on the script, then we lose out and we miss the actual language itself. So I don't want to get hung up on the script. What I want to get hung up is, what is the methodology for discerning? If we were to look at, for example, if I pull up the Shalom tunnel inscription, the one that Hezekiah created, and then if you ever been to Israel before, if you ever go to Israel, you'll be able to see they show you this script that they plastered and preserved, and they have a little plaque underneath it, and they tell you this is the Shalom tunnel inscription. It's one of the earliest inscriptions that we have of classical Hebrew, right? If you read that, it is written in Paleo-Hebrew, right? Because that was the script that they used at the time. But if I was to show that to you and ask you, okay, so how do you vocalize that? I think that's where we would come at a disagreement, right? I think, Diane, you would say what? If you was to look at like something similar to what Apostle Zakan had put up on the screen, a restoration of the ancient Hebrew script, how would you pronounce that? What is your rules of vocalization for pronunciating the language if you use the C Paleo-Hebrew? Like, what are the rules that you use so that way we can fill in the vowels, right? Because it's a consonantal script, meaning that there's no vowels added. So then what vowels would you add there if you see it? Are you just using A-class vowels? Are you using some kind of distinction for, let's say, I-class vowels? What about diphthongs?
But this brother's trying to get the small has in here, bro. Stop, bro.
Yeah, there's
like, come on, bro.
There's in Yahweh, there's 2 vowels. So if you take for
what was that, Judah?
Come on, man.
No, let them work. I want to hear what they got to say. I got you, Apostle. I just want to hear what they got to say. Go ahead, I'm listening.
All right.
For instance, the word to see, it's a ra, and a laf, and a ha, right? So when you pair the elaf with the ha, which the ha in this case would be considered like a modifier. The elaf will be the vowel. It's oreya, right? It's not ra or ra'ah. It's oreya, right? Because I mean,
I would say ra, like la.
But see that's what I'm saying. Then you will be saying it without any vowels.
Okay, so wait, so you say it's a modifier. So every time I see that, it modifies the morphology of the word. Is that what you're saying?
No, only when paired with ayan or elaf. Okay,
so aleph or ayan, you say alaf, right? And you say ayin, right? So when you see those two, which is voiceless, you say when we see that paired with, what was the last consonant you said?
Well, I wouldn't say they're voiceless, but
they are voiceless. So what are you attributing to the alaf and ayin?
You're gonna source up on that to show they're sourceless, sir? Or did you just follow?
Only in modern Hebrew, or like the revitalization of quote unquote Hebrew, is where they say it's silent.
So what's the glottal stop? How do you define a glottal stop in your vocalization system?
That's a lot of questions, sir. You said that
he was the one defending the position that
right. Sir, no, that's all well and good, but you have 1,000 questions like you're trying to take over the show. Just real quick, you said that the dots and dashes. Sir, he said that the in 4Q22 Dead Sea Scrolls that there was like a trying to get the dots and dashes in there.
No, I didn't say that.
He was saying that was paleo.
Sir,
he said it was paleo. What are you saying?
Sir, as soon as he said 4Q22, we pulled it right on up in the Dead Sea Scrolls library. And sir, there are barely any dots and dashes anywhere.
I never said there was dot and dashes.
Incorporation of Masoretic anything.
Hey, audience, if I said that, can you
as soon as you said that, I put it in our chat and it was like, this is what he's talking about.
Yeah, I never said that. I never said that.
Why'd you even bring it up if you didn't say that?
Yeah, so I brought it up because what I was explaining is that the Paleo-Hebrew that's found amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls. Dayan brought up the Dead Sea Scrolls. He brought up that the preservation of Paleo-Hebrew was amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I just added to what he was saying. I said, yes, 4Q22 is an example of that. That's all I said. I didn't say it had dots and dashes. What I said about the pre-Masoretic text, maybe that's what you're referring to. I said the pre-Masoretic text, pre-M, M is a designation for Masoretic text, can be found amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls, looking at morphology and looking at syntax. That's what I said. I never said 4Q24.
I want to respond to that, Tally, for 1 minute.
Wait, just real quick.
Now, Tally, that's what the Lord could be doing right now, giving us that pure language, but we don't want to recognize it. I believe right now the spirit of Yahweh is moving on special people to that can grasp it right now to get back to the original language. And those people know who they are. But he's using people just like you and I. Because before we leave here, we got to know that language. Or we ain't going to understand him when he comes back. Because that's the language he's going to be speaking. And if you want to get one with him, get one with what I'm saying. And I ain't talking about years. If you can't see what's happening, tsunamis being threatened on the West Coast. What's going on in Texas? What's just happened down in Florida? If y'all can't see what's happening, not just that, I'm talking economics. The dollar's getting worthless every day. China owns everything over here and half of Africa. If y'all can't pitch, if you're not seeing what's going on in Congress and what this discussion about UFOs, what this got to do with today, you better open up your eyes and your heart now more than ever before, because we're closer today to receiving our demon ever than what we ever been. That's why I'm in Tennessee, no longer on the East Coast. They make fun, they make mockery. Go ahead, Ron, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to answer this. This is why this discussion is, and for us of all people, that's why people are saying, well, why are we talking about this Hebrew stuff now? Because now's the time to talk about it. How else are they going to learn in Christendom who they are unless we talk about it? Because half of our brothers and sisters are still under Christendom. And they got to come out. Go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry, man.
Go ahead, Diane.
I did say I gotta go, but
yeah, I see your wife pushing on the door, man.
No, she ain't pushing me nowhere.
She's trying to get your attention, boy. You better listen. We can stay here and beat up Judah. I'm not prejudiced.
Judah does the beating up.
Go.
So Torah Knights does the beating up.
Yeah, like come on.
Oh man. Come on, man. Don't take it personal, man. Come on.
I'm not apostle. Your boy was supposed to debate. I know you trying to stick up for him. You know.
Hey, Yasha is Yasha. Me and Yasha had our arguments. You know, he's an Old Testament guy. I'm a New Testament guy. You know that.
Yeah, I know, but he's in the
No, y'all can have him. Sorry, Debbie. Y'all gonna have to go on.
Why is that? I mean, you done put me with the clubs and you know what? This can't I just do me?
No, y'all gotta take Yasha. I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah,
all right. I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with ISUPK. I can vibe with it. We gonna have to vibe to get along anyway. We are Israel.
Listen, y'all officially have Yasha on y'all's team. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can't have elders like that, like Yasha, who are supposed to be handing down examples to younger brothers, over here foul-mouthing brothers, not showing up for the debates, canceling, and then showing up for the debate, not willing to fight, trying to put somebody else in the fight for him. And then says, I just want your respect.
Nobody put me in the fight. I put myself in it.
Look, and a
I don't know nothing about the debate.
I've said it before. A lot of people probably don't know this. Yasha used to be in the Torah Knights chat. He always used to call the chat and be like, see, y'all don't respect me. Y'all got to show respect to me because I've been doing this for years. I know the language and this, that, and this. So I'm like, okay, well, you say you know the language. Why don't you hop in the ring? He telling me I don't know the language because I don't go to rabbis and yeshivas, right? So I'm like, okay, well, hop in the ring then. He always just say, oh, no, we could just have a discussion about it. No, I ain't going to hop in the ring. No. But all of a sudden, when Judah was supposed to debate King Seth and he ain't show up either, Yasha want to hit the panel talking about, y'all don't know Hebrew, y'all don't know the Hebrew, y'all don't know this, y'all don't know that. Well, I'm like, yo, okay, hop in the ring. That's when it got set up. But I guess, you know.
King Seth was intoxicated. I think King Seth was intoxicated that day when he made that debate. That day when he called up on the show, I believe he had a blackout and didn't even realize what he was doing. King Seth was intoxicated that day. He probably didn't remember he had made a debate with Judah. And I said during that King, I asked him how much had he had to drink because he was slurring his words and yeah. He was drunk. I heard drunk before. I seen drunk. I got drunk many times. I don't do it no more, but I got drunk many times.
Don't you don't have to admit that. Okay, next. So are we good? Are we still
Here, Devon, I mean, the Divine Prospect finished doing what he was doing. I just didn't know what Judah was talking about and why he interrupted that way. I was just
I just want to say you guys did a great job. I just want to say here's the brother Divine Prospects channel. Y'all know you can find Devion on Torah Knights, Judah's channel, everybody. H. Millette, shout out to my sister. Shout out to Misunderstood, my sister Misunderstood, lady.
Who was calling me? I cannot find my phone.
My sister Naphtali. Shout out to the sisters. Yeah, the brothers up here doing that stuff on the language. Is there anything else that we need to cover, or did I?
Yeah.
Did you guys? Did I interrupt? Go ahead, Judah.
Yeah, they kind of like cut me off. So I was saying before, I was like, when Divine Prospect was like speaking, he was trying. He just omitted the part where he tried to like kind of get in the Masoretic script by kind of mentioning the Mentions Lecciones, or like if I'm not mistaken, like the mother tongue, right? Where they kind of the theory is kind of very similar to Torah Knights, but except for they use the Aleph as well as the Y, H, and W, right?
I'm aware of that. I've been watching you guys for years. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I never. I'm saying I never studied this Mentions Lecciones thing or whatever. I'm just saying, or try to, copy it and incorporate it. No, it was just something that
Yeah, that you independently discovered. Yeah, I understand, brother. I know your history, brother.
I know. I'm saying too. I do. It is funny about the you forgot to mention about the Syrian or the Syriac script, which if you look at it, it does kind of look like dots. Not dashes, but it does kind of like dots. I don't know if you remember that you kind of included the Syriac script.
I think
yeah, well, the Syriac script, I use the OSS, right? So I use that for the New Testament, and then I also use the Syriac for the Old Testament that was developed around the 4th to 5th century. Peshitta comes down about the 5th, 6th century. The OSS comes about in the 3rd, 4th century, right? So I use the OSS because it predates both of those texts. So with Syriac, yeah, I mean, I study Syriac. I have to know it for the New Testament text that I use. I use the OSS. I don't use the Greek text or translations from the Greek text. But I was just asking, how do you address glottal stops? And I think I understand now that Dayan just mentioned it, right? You said when you see an aleph and a hey together, the hey is a modifier. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm asking you, if I see that anywhere, am I supposed to pronounce it the same way everywhere I see the aleph and hey together?
Yes. If it precedes the ha, then yes.
Okay, so you have no glottal stops in your vocalization system, correct?
A glottal isn't a glottal stop like a
glottal stop is like ra ah. It's a slight pausal between the two consonants that we have.
Yeah, it's like a pause, but
it's a glottal stop.
It's a eh. It's not a ah. It's a eh. Because you can never get
when you see like two A's together. I'm trying to figure it out.
That's also a great example of it as well. Yes.
Like you say,
like where you have the resh aleph hey, there's a glottal stop there, right? So the aleph represents a glottal stop, and then the ha is vocalized, right? So you got the ra'ah. So that's how it should be pronounced.
For the word to see?
Correct.
No, it's
resh aleph hey.
It's ra'ah.
See. Yeah, so you got this A sound. So what are you attributing to this A? How are you getting this A vocalization? How is it being derived?
It's Elof. It makes
what I was saying about this Shalawama.
Wait. How what is representing the E vocalization sound in Re'ah? How you getting the sound? You don't believe in diphthongs, right?
Because take Leah's name for example. Hold on, take Leah's name for example.
Okay.
It's not la'ah. It's le'ah. Le. Like the word for no, it's le. It's le, not la. It's le.
Okay, so
that's like saying Leah.
All right. So in Leah's name, we have lamed, aleph, he.
Yes.
So this sound that you're deriving is a zere that we have underneath the lamed. That's the pointing system you get from the Masoretic text.
No, it's not a
Wait, hold on, brother. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're saying that le'ah is the same vocalization of ra'ah, you're doing this based on what? Where's the egg coming from? What represents the A then? The aleph? What is it? The first consonant, or what we call the first root radical, and the second root radical is an aleph? You're saying that produces the E sound? Is that what you're saying? I'm trying to understand.
Yes, aleph makes an E sound, not an ah sound. Ayan makes an ah sound.
Wait. Okay, so you said aleph makes an E sound,
bruh.
So how do I wait? So if I get a resh aleph hey, you're saying that's how should I pronounce that? Re. Okay, so where's the sound coming from?
Hold on. Just like the word for in the beginning, it's ba reshia.
Okay, that's how you say it. No problem.
Ba reshia.
Yeah. So you said ba re. So how are you getting the e sound? What represents the e sound?
The aleph.
Okay, so every time I see the aleph, I give it. Hold on, bro. Let me understand. So every time I see the aleph, I get it the e sound. So when I look at ra'ah, or you say re'ah, where is the a? What represents the a? What represents the ah? Where these class vowels coming from?
Once you put the e, which is a vowel, which is the aleph, with the ha.
But where's the a coming from? Okay, so I got it. Okay, so you're saying that if I see
two letters together.
I got you, brother. Okay, hold on. And this is I'm just trying to get acclimated again to your vocalization rules. So you're saying that when I see aleph, it has the eh sound, but if it's followed or preceded by a ha, then the ha gets an ah sound after you pronounce the aleph sound, correct? So re ah, that's what you're saying, correct?
I'm not saying
you're saying the hey is a modifier.
I'm not saying re ah. I'm saying re ah.
Can I? Do you mind if I ask a question? I know this is so probably like you guys are going to be like, what? Because I don't study the language like you do. So in the I just know about the Lashawan. I know this sounds so funny, but when they say no, they say la'ah. Have you heard of that?
I say it the same way.
Yeah, I heard Brother Hebrew say once. I'm like, bro, stop.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I hear everybody talking, and so
I'm agreeing with you, Nepal. That's what I'm saying.
okay. So when I hear them say la'ah, how do you actually say it in the other Hebrew that you're doing? I'll start with Divine because I think everybody's going to give me a different answer. Divine, how do you say no or that particular word? Divine.
Yes, I would say lo or la.
Lo or la. Okay.
So it all depends. So it depends on if I'm reading the text from the Masoretic text. It's lo, right? It's pronounced no in the Masoretic text, and that's where you get the lo from a lot of Tanakh Old Testament, subscribers. But those using the Lashwa Kadash, they say la'ah. That's because they're looking at the consonants and they are ascribing vowel sounds to the in between the consonants, or giving one to a consonant, like Dayan just said for the aleph, right? So if we look it up, right, for example, let me bring it up in the text, right, where somebody's saying no, and then we could look at the consonantal roots and then show you how they ascribe these vocalization systems, everybody on stage, to these roots or in between these consonants to determine how to pronounce it, right? So let me bring up the text real quick where somebody said no.
Okay, and then I'm going to move on to you, Devion. I want to hear your take on it because as I listen to you, and Devion, you ready to bring up your information when you want to screen share? I thought you're going to screen share, Divine.
Oh yeah, I was just going to show like some sources in case people want to read further because a question for Dayan would be, and my brother Judah would be, what sources do you have?
Okay, Sonetter wants to be on speaker for a second, guys. All right. Okay. Here you are, Sonetter. Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to the young prodigy. Good to see my young brother up there. And I owe Davion an apology, man. I slept on this brother. This young G is nice when it comes to this Hebrew. I slept on Davion, my bad, brother. I apologize, man. You are a young beast, man. Apostle, I'm surprised that you gave Apostle a run for the money. I'm surprised at that, man.
I did just take this on spur, man.
You gotta start listening to these young brothers, Apostle, because they studying. You stop studying, bro.
He's still studying. He's still
Bro,
studying.
You studying all days, Apostle. You
don't see.
But listen to these young soldiers, brother.
You don't see.
You do that as well.
Bro, you lost.
You're doing a great job.
Okay.
You're doing a great job, baby girl.
Thank you. All right, son of a piece. He's listening. Obviously, he's enjoying the show. Let me ask you. So the reason I brought that up, real quick, and then Divine. After you finish up, I'm going to move on to Devion, Judah, and Apostle with that same question. But because I'm hearing you talk about the name Leah, and it sounds so similar. You know what I'm saying? Like to the Lashawan. To me, it does. So go ahead. You're muted though, Divine.
Yeah, I was muted. I was trying to bring it up so you can kind of see what is being discussed. So let me bring up a passage with Leah's name, and then I'm going to show you the word no, right? What we call the negative, right? Or the negative privative in the Greek.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah,
it's hard.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. There it is.
Okay, got it. All right, so the first one that I'm showing here, right? This is lo. So this is what they're saying. This is your lamed and your aleph, right? In the Masoretic text, you have a cholam over the aleph, the second root radical, right? So it's pronounced lo because what's ascribed to the aleph is the cholam, right? What they're saying is that you see this little dot, napa, that's over the aleph. Yeah. So let's say we remove that altogether. That's the cholam. Let's say we remove that altogether. The question is now, how do I pronounce this? Let's say this was in a paleo script. What we're looking at is called the square script. It doesn't matter. What are your vocalization rules in order to fill in the blanks where there's no vowels? How do you ascribe this to be a word? Now, what they're telling me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Devon and Judah, is that the aleph has an it sound. Is that correct?
Devion, is that correct? Judah?
Yes.
Okay, so they would pronounce this as le. Is that correct?
The L-A?
Yes.
Before my Lord? Yes.
How do you pronounce that?
Le.
Le, right? So they're giving to the aleph, right? They're giving an eh sound, a short eh sound, right? That's how they pronounce it. Now, in Lashwan Kodash, what they do is they add vowels in between after every consonant. So it's la and then ah. Right? La, ah. So what they're doing is they put in an A-class vowel between after the lamed and having a la, and then they also vocalize in this aleph as la,
yes.
That's how they do it, right? Correct.
Yeah.
But the reason why the pointings are there, and I'm gonna show you this because you asked a good question about layout. The reason why the pointings are there is because if you were to read words that are similar, there's tons of words that are similar, like milk, cheese, tons of words that are similar.
Like la and Leah.
Yeah, but with Leah, there's a hey, right? And that's what they call a modifier. So a modifier changes a normal rule. In this case, it's a vocalization rule, right? They have a vocalization system. And when they look at this, they'll just say le. But if I put a hey there, what happens is they're vocalizing the aleph as an a sound. They're giving it a vowel sound, but they're also attributing an ah sound after that because the hey is there. So that's how their system works. So what I'm trying to do is deduce the core rules that they're using for vocalization to see how they're filling in those blanks. And as they're speaking, it's coming to my memories because it's been a while since I've seen them talk on this, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm just trying to remember, and that'll answer your question. Now we get to Leah, for example. Let's type in Leah, right? I just type in Leah. We'll just pull up a random passage with Leah in it, right? Genesis 29:16, right? So in this case, anybody's looking at this on the left side, tools, you click on tools,
right?
And what you get here is the vowel pointings, right, of the Masoretic text. You can always remove that. And this is what we're doing. I'll ask them, how do you pronounce this? How do you pronounce that? Without the vowel points, I want to see how they pronounce this. Now, a good example is the word Leah. So we're looking at Leah. What would you identify Leah as, Napah, if you was looking at this?
If I look at this, I'd see the lamed right there, and that one.
There you go. Good, good.
Right.
So now the question for them is like, Mama, we saw lo or la'a, which we call a negative privative. That means it negates whatever the value is that comes after it, right? So if it's a name like Leah, right, and I had the lamed, and aleph, it'll be not Leah, right? It'll negate whatever that value is that follows it, whether it's a verb, noun, or whatever, right? So here you see there's a hey after the aleph. So we know these are two different words. The prior word was lamed aleph. This one is lamed aleph hey. So automatically by looking at that, it tells me this is a completely different word. But now the question is, how do you vocalize this, right? So like I said again, and they affirmed it, they had the lamed, it gives you the L sound, the la sound for L. But when they see this aleph, they give it a sound, a short sound, right? And then you have a hey there. So in their first word, it was just le, right? Because there was no hey. They said if you add that hey, it modifies the sound because now it adds another vowel after the eh. Now in Hebrew, whenever we see two vowels together, it's called a diphthong. That means it should produce a brand new sound other than the traditional sound that those vowels maintain. They don't have a diphthong in the vocalization system. Something's wrong with that because every language uses diphthongs. So that's the question. I wanted to get more specific and nuance with them into it, but we don't have the time for that. But that's how they pronounce it, right? They give it two vowel sounds, the a. That's how they define it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I fight with that. I don't understand why they're not the same.
So this would be
sound is not the same. Go ahead.
Thank you, Apostle. So this is now according to, and Judah and Devion can come in and correct me now. So it would be le, ha. I'm confused. Like that's how they would pronounce Leah.
Which one? Say it again. Yeah, they would pronounce it le-a. So the aleph contains the short sound, right?
So not ha. The ha wouldn't be it. It would be le-a.
Correct. So the ha is not vocalized. They're just adding. So when we say matres lecciones, what that simply means is that there are 4 consonants that can double as vowels. Just like in English, Y can double as a vowel, right?
Right.
Now, it could be a consonant or it could be a vowel. Well, this is similar rules with the matres lecciones. They use a similar system where the hey, when it's a suffix, when it's at the end, it doesn't have the ha sound. It has the ah sound.
Oh, so like Yahweh.
Correct. So remember, when you see this aleph, they're giving it a vowel sound. And if there's a hey that follows it, they give it another vowel sound. In Hebrew or any kind of language, this is called a diphthong. D-I-P-T-H-O-N-G. That means
we have diphthongs in English too. There's diphthongs.
Correct. Right. So when you combine 2 vowels together, it produces a unique sound in each individual vowel. Right. They don't have that. That doesn't exist. They don't have nothing like that. And in the biblical Hebrew, which is derived from the Masoretic text, the Masoretic reading, this is not a diphthong here, right? Because when you look at the pointings, let me put the pointings back up. When you look at the pointings, you see the pointings show you the short s sound, and this is the zere that's attributed to the lamed. So this is in Hebrew, this is a triconsonantal root, right? Which means you have 3 consonants that make up a root word. You can't deduce it any further than that. You can't make a biconsonantal root or a uniconsonant root here. It's just 3 root consonants, right? When you have 3 root consonants, each one is called a radical. First radical is lamed, second radical is aleph, third radical is hey. Now what they do is that they add these. So these vocal points down here, this zering and this chametz that's down here. This is adding a vowel, a vocalized vowel. So it's le, ah. So this sound is still there, and this chametz gives the aleph its vowel sound. Because remember I said earlier that it's not voiceless, but it doesn't have a consonantal value. You attribute one to it like they do, and like the matres lecciones does that I use to read the ancient Hebrew, right? But when you look at this type of rendering system or vocalization system, the reason why they're adding these pointings is because it helps them to distinguish this from other words that may look similar, right? So there's words that look similar, and without the vowel pointings, how would you be able to discern it when you read it in a sentence or a clause? how would you be able to distinguish it? That's why these pointers are there. They're there for a lot of different reasons, right? But that's one of the main reasons why they're there, right? So when you go back to lo, you're going to see they have that little dot I showed you right at the top. That's the cholam, this dot right here. It's over the aleph. So that's the value they're giving it, lo and le'ah. So if I listen to both of them, lo and le'ah, they don't sound alike at all. So if I go to read it, I would be looking at these pointers to say, oh, this is le'ah, sound, le'ah, as opposed to lo'ah, or as opposed to le'ah. That's why when you remove this, they have to tell you what are your rules of vocalization for sounding this out. Since this is this has no vowels, how do you add the vowels? Well, in their mind, aleph is an a sound, but they say no, it's a eh sound. And the reason why they do that is to distinguish the aleph from the ha sound. That's why they give it that eh sound, that zere sound, because they're distinguishing the aleph from the hey, because the hey can also get an ah sound in matres lecciones. So when you put these two words together, these aleph and hey, that's supposed to, in their rendering, have the same phonetic values. The only way that you know the difference is if I remove the aleph as an ah sound, which traditionally is part of the matres lecciones, and added eh sound, right? That's how they distinguish it. So that way you're not confusing two matres lecciones.
We don't use dots and dashes, sir.
Right, and you know, I appreciate Devion and Judah. Listen, Divine, thank you for that thorough explanation. I know you guys want to get in. Everybody has equal amount of time. I like that he had the time to really explain it. And now, you know, Divine has no problem. He's going to hand the mic over to you guys. Either one of you choose to give your take on it, because I want to hear from everybody. I'm learning from this. So thank you, Divine Prospect. Now, Devion or Judah, either one.
I'll be really fast, Devion. I gotta go. I gotta get ready for work. But
I gotta go too. It's almost 10:30.
I
said it like 30 minutes ago.
But it's your show. Somebody was long-winded, but go ahead, brother.
But I mean, I wanted you to thoroughly explain it, though. I didn't find it long-winded at all.
Right.
Just like you can thoroughly explain it. Yeah, you could do as much time as you like, Judah. Go ahead, or either one of you, because I want to hear. I really do want to find out why. So, can you explain to me what the question I asked, like, just like I asked him, where I see Leah and La'ah? Can you guys let me know the breakdown and explain to how it works, please? Do you want to screen share something, or Judah? No.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Real quick. So I just want to share my screen real quick, and I hope this works out. Let me share my screen. It's been a while. Does my mic sound okay? Because I had to like switch to.
Yeah, your mic is fine.
Yeah, you sound good.
We can hear you.
All right, cool. All right. So remember, the brother said that it's low for LA, right? Get rid of that. Hopefully get rid of this. Hope you guys can see it. Hope you guys can hear it. Can you guys see the screen or no?
Yeah. Oops. Yeah. No. I see you sharing it. I'm sharing it for you. There you go.
Okay. So this is where we do like comparative linguistics, like for Yahweh Yath or the Judahite language, right? We compare it to Arabic and mostly because it's like a living language still. So let's see if we're supposed to be following a new neo language called Modern Hebrew, which is comprised of European words and vowel sounds and this, that, the other, blah, 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 or an Afro-Asiatic language. So let's see if le is it le or lo, which is European. This is Arabic.
La.
Can you hear it?
La.
La.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Not low.
She said let. She said let.
So right. So that's how you say. So,
I didn't hear that. I heard la.
I stopped sharing. No, you did not hear la, sir. You heard you're like a le. Le.
I heard la.
You were saying
no.
Right. So there you go. It's not low. It's what we were saying, le, in quote unquote Hebrew and Arabic. Because you can also back up that le.
Well, I saw that in Arabic. I didn't see it in Hebrew.
With el. El also would signify to negate, no or not.
So are you saying Hebrew and Arabic is the same?
Yeah, is that what you're saying?
There's of course there's differences, of course.
I would have to jump.
They're like like related languages of the same linguistic.
Yeah, but they're not the same.
Oh, wait, you
So
said
because-
the lament
same
indicates a negative. Is that what you said, Judah?
It's like Aramaic, right? Is not quote unquote. There's no language called Hebrew, right? By the way, Hebrew is a Greek word, but I'm gonna use Hebrew. So
Yeah, Aramaic is no really more than Armenian. Basically, that's what that is. It's an Armenian language.
Not about all that. So it's essentially like the kind of the same, but there are differences. Like the Aramaic uses a lot more alephs. So like instead of saying like they'll be like Shama Yame, because there's an aleph at the end of a lot of the Aramaic. That's how you can like tell the aleph is in there a lot more, is used a lot more in Aramaic than it is in the quote unquote Hebrew. I'm just using that word because that's what everyone's familiar with. But y'all clearly saw, not to be long-winded, y'all clearly saw that when I hit the Arabic, what did it sound like? No. Le. We were saying le. Is no, not lo, which is modern Hebrew, not la, which is the camps. Le. So I ain't gotta be long-winded. Go ahead, Debbie, on my bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't know that the camps say la.
They do say la, and they add it.
I know. I would say ba.
They add an extra a. They add an extra a into all their words.
Right. It will ba, ga, da, la. That's the alphabet that I learned. Period. But it wasn't from a camp.
But that's not how you would say a word.
The word would be alap or alap.
Man, we already went through this. We already went through this, and I said
the word would be gamal and not gamil. The word would be dalaf and not dalith or dalet. The word would be ha and not hey. The word would be wa, not ve or. And like you said, I said tasade. You said it would be a Z, but I got a Z.
I said it's
so we're gonna do it with Zion.
It's a Z, not a Taza. It's Z. Like Zabewaf.
Desire what?
Zabewaf. Which means like of host, like Yahweh of hosts.
Yahweh say by oath. That's what you're talking about. Okay. So
no, I'm not talking about Zabe oath. I'm talking about Zabe Wath, because a wa can't make an O sound.
You said can't make an O sound. Do you know that there's an O sound in Akkadian? Because you brought Akkadian up earlier. Were you aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware of that. But
okay, got it. So that's a Semitic language, right?
Wa cannot make an O sound.
Okay, so
as I showed earlier, even in Arabic, it's wa.
This again, you're using Arabic,
it's
right?
Wa.
Arabic has a reduced vocalization system. When I'm talking about a more
Aramaic
vocalization system, hold on, brother. If I was to bring up an Akkadian text for you right now, can you show me how you're contracting, how the O is contracted? Since you acknowledge there's an O in there, can you show me why? What is the grammar rules that dictate why there's an O sound?
No, I just know it's an Afro-Asiatic language. I don't speak Akkadian.
Are there O's in Afro-Asiatic languages? Yes or no?
I'm sure there is. I think there's one in Amharic.
Yes. Wait. Hold on, brother. You just said, so if there's an O sound, what represents the O sound then? And Amharic and also Akkadian, because these are two Semitic languages. They have the O sound. You're saying the one cannot be an O, but O is part of the Semitic language.
Sir. In Amharic, the wa has many different sounds. You have
same thing in Hebrew.
Hold on, man. You have we, you have wa, you have woe, and like another one. But in Yahweh is wow. It's a wa, not a O or a U or a V. You only get that when you start using the dots and dashes.
So no, that's not true. Matres secciones also uses the wav. The wav can double as a sound, brother. What are you talking about?
Sir, can you show me
wav?
Sir, when did Yahweh start using V's?
V's? I said wav.
You said wav.
Wav. W-A-W. Wow.
Wow.
The way that I'm ending the final wow.
Which would be nail.
It sounds like you use the V, but a wow cannot make a O sound.
So a wav can't. Wait, you just said that the wav has many different sounds.
Yeah, how would that y'all,
brother?
There is no O sound,
brother. Since when
unless you hold
because
on, man.
because brother, the Gez predates the Arabic.
Yeah, you trying to get the right up in here, bro.
You're aware of that, right?
Yo, man. Yo, the word for raven is a ayan, a wall, a ra, and a ba. You get arb. The word for raven is arb. Right from the ayan and the wall. It's like it's like an alt sound. It's not an O. It's an alt.
Do you have a source, a scholastic source we can go to and source what you're saying to back up what you're saying?
Sir, Arabic and the Torah.
That means no. Okay. I just asked.
But sir, hold on, man. Hold on, wait.
Did you say the Harbinger is in scripture?
Come on, man.
I just want to clarify that.
You said what?
Did you say that Harbinger, the word, is in the scriptures?
Yeah, Hawadayath is in the scripture. I don't know
what verse.
But sir, your only source was the Masoretic text, which came way later.
No, I'm just asking you now. What scripture is it in?
We have Benjamin Noonan. I mean, I could go on for days, and I could tell you the works if you want the works as well. I gave you one. Textual criticism of the Hebrew Bible, and if y'all want to go over it, I can show you the pre-Masoretic text amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is easy work to do.
It's not that easy
because it could be pronounced without the diacritic marks.
Wait, real quick. These guys just said they're trying to get away from the Arabic, but this is who their white masters used when they tried to supplement the language because they didn't know the language. When they wouldn't try to throw in European words, they had to go to the Arabic.
I brought that up earlier.
Ancient Black Hebrew, bro. Ancient Black Hebrew.
Actually sourced that up, sir. He sourced that up and showed that the people you are saying speak the biblical language, which they clearly admit they do not. Right? Israeli linguist says they do not.
I didn't see him source that up, bro.
I know. So trying to small hat your way up and no, bro, it's just not going to work, bro.
No, I'm just saying I didn't see him source.
I know.
Hey, Sister Napah, can you share my screen? I just want to share sources.
I know, but see, Arabic is a living. Hold on, man. Arabic is a living language. With thousands.
Which I don't speak. I don't know nothing about Arabic.
Okay, excuse me. I get that. But
I shared it. Did you see it? Sorry, excuse me.
Yes, can you do it again real quick? I'm sorry, I was the wrong screen. I'm sorry, Jude. I just wanted. Okay, go ahead, brother. I just wanted to put this up while you're talking.
Go ahead, Judah.
Arabic is longer than Arabic is older.
You have to make that bigger. I can't read it.
These guys are trying to discount
Arabic. You're not reading the old Arabic, sir. The Arabic that you're getting is the classical Arabic. You're not going into the old Arabic script. Hey, let me pull the old Arabic script up for you, and you're gonna have to read it for me. Hold on, brother.
What are you talking about script for, sir?
Brother, I'm gonna pull it up because there are differences in the vocalization system between classical Arabic that you get your Quran in, and in the old Arabic,
sounds like a debate.
South Arabic, where Yemen is at, where inscriptions reside.
This should be a good debate between you and
also in Arabic from the Quran.
Okay, one mic, please. So go ahead, one mic.
You're not hearing me, Nepal.
I hear you just fine, Apostle.
Whenever Divine Prospect wants to get smoked,
might be a good debate.
Arabic and show the 5 pillars of Islam. When you read them, when you know them, you're like, wait a minute, and then you go into our language, you're like, wait a minute, bro, it's the exact same. Without no European dots and dashes and all that weird, none of that. It's the exact same. So why you guys are going against Arabic for modern Hebrew, which is European, like you guys are out of your mind. But whenever y'all want to get stepped up, you want to step up and get slammed down.
The language I'm speaking is nowhere near European. Nowhere near.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sister Nepal.
The European in my language.
Good job, Brother Devion.
Yeah, John.
Whenever y'all want to step up,
can we do like a closeout or something? Because these cats are clearly trying to take over the show, bro.
I thought you closed out.
Right,
Nepal gave you a 3-minute closeout, and then she opened the panel to guess.
Sir. Originally, this was supposed to be my show because Yasha didn't show up.
I'm in Yasha's stead. If you see him in the chat, he says I could speak in his stead.
Well, he said the same thing about Apostle. But I'm not about
to.
All right, we do want to see his information, so this is what I'll do. Just a second, Divine. Since you're leaving, Devion, you want to say a closeout, and then we'll take a look at his his information after, so you can close out. We'll let you do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said before, I commend.
We did a closeout.
What?
No,
We
just
already
stay
did
on
a
track.
closeout.
No, he wants to do another closeout, and he can
Oh,
do that,
okay.
and then we'll get
I
back
thought
to
the closeout was just after the debate.
Yeah, we did a closeout after the debate. We did that. And
Let's
then there's
let
a
him
call.
say
Like
what he
the
needs to say
conclusion.
before he leaves the panel. Thank you for coming in, Devion. What did you want to say before you leave the panel?
Okay. Well, thank you, Nepal, for hosting the debate, and Sanetter and HOK for allowing me on to beat up Yasha, who wasn't even here. And like I said, I commend Apostle for stepping in his place, even though Apostle couldn't find Abba Yah in the scriptures anywhere. There are no dots and dashes, as I said before. And the Masoretic text came way later. So, I mean, there were no dots and dashes. It came from Tiberian Hebrew, and they were converts, which means they weren't Israelites, which means they spoke another tongue. That's why they had to use European languages, which I showed the source earlier. It's in a book called Arabic to quote unquote Hebrew lexicon, and it tells you they used Arabic and they used European languages to come up with new words for modern Hebrew. So I don't know what these cats are talking about, but like I said, thank you again to Paul for.
Well, before you go, I want to let you know we did put up a poll, and it looks like you won by 57%. So against Apostle. So good job, good debate, especially Apostle coming in. That's not bad considering that you weren't even prepared. And I do want to hear what the brother Divine was talking about, but thank you. This was this was actually for me one of the best shows because I get to learn from every side about the Hebrew. So I appreciate all the teachers. I like to listen, and then we can go and take our own, make our own assessment and do our own research and study. So thank you, Devion. Congratulations. And we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, great job to you and Apostle, brother.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I would just like to say to Davion in my closing.
I just want to say Shalom and
Yahweh Echad, yes.
Okay. In my closing, I think he's finished.
Shalom.
I like to say
he has a whole family to get to. 2 new babies.
So about
you too, Divine. I'm not saying you don't.
Or Yahweh by Yah, or whatever he was saying in scripture. Every morning I did show Abba Yah, but I did explain that the word Abba Yah comes from our ancestor Abba, always said that. And the Yah is dealing with the language. That's where we get what is so-called the Hebrew people. Now we know the word Hebrew is a translated Greek word, just like Israel is a translated Greek word. We know that. So, but now the thing is, we were speaking a language before we became divided, the 12 tribes.
Let me say something. Zaquan, excuse me. Now, Naphtali, peace to my sister Naphtali. You know we did not rig this debate. Stop
I'm going to tell you, I have never won a debate on this channel.
But I set the poll up, and Apostle, I let the poll go longer than usual.
I know, I'm just still saying, it doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me that this channel voted against me against Ryan. And I destroyed him.
I barely made it. But let's not listen. Let's not take it personally.
This channel went against me with Black Jesus Minister.
It's not the channel. It's not the channel. It's the audience, and that's what we say. So
it's the channel.
All right. Well, let's see what our brother Divine is going to bring out. If because I really was, as I said, appreciating this. Your opinion.
But I thought I'd get a closeout at least.
But we're not done. You don't want to close out until after we hear the rest of the information, right? You can close out.
No. I want to close out. He just closed out. I want to close out.
You're going to close out. Guess what? You're going to close out when you get ready to leave, for sure. I'll let you have an unlimited closeout, Elder.
It won't be the same. I won't have the same energy.
It's okay. I can yield to him, Nepal. I'm patient. I can wait. Go ahead, Elder. He's my elder.
Go ahead.
He won't have the same energy. He just got done. He really has no reason to mention me other than I took Yasha's place. As far as associating me with Yasha,
which was noble. Put this away.
you know, I mean, or his reasoning of attack. The point is, what's the sense of coming up with one language for one tribe and the rest of us not being able to communicate? Because Ahaya Dawath got to be just for the tribe of Judah. What about the rest of the tribes? Why would I want to speak a language that separates me from the rest of my brethren? You do know we brothers, right?
Of course.
You do know we got to come together.
Yes.
But if we don't come together here, how are we going to come together there? So why don't you try to look for something that brings us together rather than set us apart? We've been doing that too long. Too long. Oh, that sounds like something from the camp. Oh, that sounds like something from the Old Testament. It's time for us to come together, not to continue to divide. But I understand. Some of you just going to wait for Christ to come. Because when he divides us, he's going to do it right. He called it separating the wheat and the tare. I will hope that you would try to do better so that he won't have to. All right, go ahead, Divine.
Thank you, Elder. All right. So let me share the screen.
Yes, and I want to say thank you as well, Elder Apostle. Thank you, Napa, for allowing me to share this. And again, the only reason why I'm sharing this is because I want the public to be informed so they can better assess the discussion. If we are talking over their heads with no source material, it makes it difficult for them to follow the conversation. So whenever there's a replay, if they're giving resources, they can go back, look into the resources, or do their search, whether it's ChatGPT, if you use another LLM, large language model of your choice to look for it. You can do so yourself. You can do your Google search. You can go to your local library, or you could just buy the books that I'm going to show you that talk specifically to this subject matter so you can understand it. And if this information that you read, if it becomes too wordy because it's a scholarly text, there are easier ways to discern it, right? So like I also have a Patreon where I take this type of information and try to reduce it so that way it's very simple or oversimplified, just to pique the interest of individuals to go back in and look into it. So at this point, I'm just simply going to share you some sources. You can go look at the sources and understand the arguments that's being made, right? So these brothers say that the Masoretic text, look, matter of fact, I'm gonna let you read this, Sister Napa, because I know you love to learn, so do I. Can you read what's there that's highlighted?
Sure. The principal component of, and what is that?
So that's an M. It means Masoretic text.
Okay, the principal component of M is that of the letters evidenced fragmentarily and antiquity in the Judean desert text, and to this text, all other elements were added during the early Middle Ages.
Now you can pause right there, sis. So when it says Judean desert text, this is referring to the Qumran caves. All right, because you don't only find biblical texts among the Qumran caves, you find commentaries, you find Pesherim, all right, you find rules, community rules, right, Pierce Messiah tests, all these other texts are found alongside commentaries, Pesherim, and biblical texts, right? So it's saying that Masoretic is that of the letters. It's referring to letters that are found in the Judean desert text, evidence fragmentarily in antiquity in the Judean desert text. And to this text, what's the this says? The text is the form of the Masoretic text that's found amongst the Judean desert texts. And if we continue to go in it, he's going to show you how we are able to identify that, how we can see there's a separate stream of texts that are distinguished from the DSS. But because these brothers haven't done any,
I'm sorry, I have to jump, but this is great for me because I need to do more studying of the language. So there's Masoretic text that's found in the Qumran scrolls?
Yes, they just don't have the pointings here because that was added much later.
Right.
Yeah. So this book right here. So this book right here by Emmanuel Tov. So Emmanuel Tov, if nobody doesn't know about him, just Google him, right? He's one of the world's foremost scholars of textual criticism of the Hebrew Bible. So this is not something that I'm just saying just to say I'm making or inventing something up. This is me having to comb through all of the consensus of scholars that have contributed a corpus or a body of work to the subject matter of the Hebrew language, right? So what I'm doing is I'm pointing you to it so you can read what the conversation is. So now when you go back into these conversations or revisit these conversations, you can ask critical questions. Wait, you don't have a glottal stop? Wait, you don't have this? Wait, you don't have that? Where's your diphthong? All these things that I'm saying is just things that you know when you learn the language. These things exist also in English. The fact that they can account for it in their version of Hebrew is problematic on a large scale. We didn't even have time to get into it. Yeah, we didn't even have time to get into it. But yes, without the pointing, remember they keep saying, oh, it has pointings. That's how we know it's the Masoretic text. No. We find them without the pointings also among the Qumran caves. So keep reading, sis. After Middle Ages, what does it say?
Okay, therefore, although the medieval form of the Masoretic text is relatively late, its consonantal framework reflects an ancient tradition that was in existence more than 1,000 years earlier in many sources. Among them, many Judean desert texts from places other than Qumran.
Wait, say that one more time.
Among them, many Judean desert texts from places other than Qumran.
Keep reading.
Copied in the period between 50 BCE.
Wait. What's the date on that?
50 BCE and 115 CE.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's elaborated on page 29. Okay, keep going.
Okay. Accordingly, scholars usually designate the consonantal base of the Masoretic evidence in the Second Temple period as Proto-Masoretic, although sometimes also anachronistically as the Masoretic text.
Because it wasn't called that or designated that historically, right? But that's the designation that scholars make today when they find those feature sets in text that have no vowel pointings from this period of time, right? So there's features that the Masoretic text possesses that the DSS text do not possess. So we see two text type families, not just at Qumran, but other places outside of Qumran. If I was to ask them, can you tell me places outside of Qumran that they found these proto just means first or original or the origin of something, these proto-Masoretic texts at? He would have no clue of that because he's not reading the consensus of scholarship on this subject matter. How it's identified, how we look at the morphology and tell morphologically this is from a Masoretic form and this is from a separate DSS form, right? This book goes through all of that for you. And if anybody wants it for free, I'm gonna post it in the chat before I bounce. Okay.
Oh, I definitely want to read this.
Yeah, keep reading, sis. The last sentence. What does it say?
Okay, and it says the term proto-rabbinic and rabbinic text are used less frequently, although they actually describe the nature of the Masoretic and its forerunners more precisely.
And its forerunners. So when you look at the rabbinic text, the early rabbinic text, proto-rabbinic text, so we're talking about like circa 1st century, 2nd, 3rd century, more in the 10 period, about the 3rd, 4th century. This comes before the Masoretic text. They are quoting Hebrew texts that exist before we get the pointings in the Masoretic text. They are quoting Masoretic text types without vowel pointings before we get the Masoretic text. So when we look at things like the Talmud, right, or we look at things in early rabbinic sources from Midrashim or things like that, they're quoting a Hebrew text in existence with no vowel pointings before we get vowel pointings in a Masoretic text, which means when you read the Masoretic text without the vowel pointings, it has a feature set that makes it distinct from other text types like it. And there's tons of other text types like it, right? And we see this feature set, and when we look at the early rabbinic sources, and they're quoting from a Hebrew text, those feature sets match that of the Masoretic text with the pointings in it or the nukud in it that comes later. And then when we go earlier than that, around circa 50 BCE to about 115 CE, now we see an interesting feature set there that these same features, morphologically speaking, and sometimes syntactically, are also found in other texts during that early time period, which is side by side with the Dead Sea Scrolls. So when these brothers they're just foaming at the mouth talking about, oh, they're using a vocalization system that shares from some European or Indo-European language forms, some of it is there. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, some of it is there. But if you remove it, that is just one rendering tradition, one way in which they pronounce it. The feature set that makes it the Masoretic text type pre-exists that, meaning that they added a reading system to a text that had already existed. That is the problem when they don't understand how this is derived, right? Now, when you keep reading, right, I'm gonna go down a little bit more and read one more quick paragraph. It says page 29, right? So we want to look at what these other texts are. Let's go to page 29, right? So let me scroll down. Give me 1 second. Page 29. We're on 26. Go to 29. All right, right here. All right. All of the 25 texts that were found in the Judean desert at sites other than Qumran displayed almost complete identity with Codex L. What is Codex L? The L means Leningrad. That's the most complete attested Hebrew text that we have. This is where modern Bibles derive their Hebrew translations from. Leningrad Codex. That when I say fully extant, that means it's not fragmentary, it's fully intact. Now, we also have what's called the Aleppo Codex, and at one point in time, that also was fully intact, but it has since been damaged, right? But this is what scholars go to when they look at the Biblia Hebraica, right? Which is the source material that's used to make modern edition Hebrew translations of the Bible that you have today. It says these texts were found at both the earlier site of Masada, text written between 50 BCE and 30 CE, and the later sites of Wadi Murabat, or Wadi Sidir, or Nahal Havir, or Nahal Arugot, and Nahal Se'elim. So you see this little hyphen right here between the two E's? That's your glottal stop. That's why I asked them, where's your glottal stops? Because, you know, they talking about Arabic. Arabic has glottal stops. They don't have no glottal stops, but they talking about Arabic. That makes no sense. Dating to the period of the Bar Kokhba revolt in 132 to 135 CE, text copied between 20 to 115. So by the time the Bar Kokhba revolt is in effect, because again, we have texts from this time period. This is how we know that the Paleo-Hebrew was still in existence, because they had minted coins with the Paleo-Hebrew over the Caesarian coins that was minted at the time. So what they were doing was disrespecting Caesar by putting either Yah's name or other Hebrew words in Paleo form onto the text. The reason why they maintained the Paleo form, because to them, and this is just, I guess, the way that they thought or the way they approach things, it gave it a more divine meaning, right? Meaning that the reason why we're revolting is not because you're oppressing us as a people, but you're going against our God, our power, right? So that's why we know that the Paleo-Hebrew was still in effect up into the Bar Kokhba revolt. This identity can be seen, best seen in the examination of the well-preserved text at Masada Psalms from the end of the 1st century. Did you know that we have Masada Psalms from the end of the 1st century that looks exactly like the Masoretic text today without the pointings and differs from the Dead Sea Scrolls version of the Psalms?
Let me ask you, how do we have Masadas? Are these Psalms? So obviously all the Psalms weren't written by King David.
No, definitely not. We even have
Psalms are written by 3 or 4, 5 different people. Let me see.
Yep. And what I'm gonna do?
Different, a lot more than 2 at least.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No,
usually we can see at the beginning of the psalm who wrote it.
Yeah, you good, Elder. So, sis, what I want you to do, can you see? I'm trying to share my other screen because I want everybody to go back and see what I'm talking about. I could be wrong. I could be lying to y'all. That's why I asked them, what's your source material from what you're saying? Where can I go to read it outside of you? There is no place for you to read it outside of them because they are the source. That becomes problematic. Now, let me show you something, sis. Share my screen real quick. I'm going to show you a website so you can actually see these manuscripts for yourself. See the paleography that's used to date it. Paleography is a way of looking at the writing style, the literary style, looking for feature sets that are of the day. So if it was written in 50 CE and I look at other texts in 50 CE with the same language, I can tell like, oh, using similar words, similar syntax, similar idioms of that time period. That's a good chronological marker to be able to date something and know at what time period it was written, right? But in this site, you can look at the entire Dead Sea Scrolls library, including the Masada text for Psalms, And when you look at that and compare it to the text that we have from the Qumran cave, they differ in morphology, they differ in syntax in places, and they differ also. And guess what? The matres lecciones that will be used for a vocalization system. You also have something called defective writing, where you remove the wav or you remove the yod, but it's preserved in the pointing systems of the Masoretic text. So I would have to get into more intricate detail with them to ask them, hey, let's talk about the nuances of your language. If somebody invented a language, there are just some rules you can't get around. Remember, I said diphthong? You can't get around that. That's in every language. Leah is a diphthong. Mm-hmm. It is. So I wanted to know, how do you handle this when you have two vowels placed together? How do you pronounce it? And it's very interesting because they still maintain the singular vowels form, singular vowels pronunciation. Instead of when you put two vowels together, you get a completely different sound.
Right.
That's
So
how
let
language works.
me just, I need to come in and ask. Okay, so when they say, and they had to go because it's pretty late for them.
No
but
problem.
when Devion and Judah say,
we're on Judah's show right now talking.
Oh, he's on a show? He has a show going?
Yeah, believe me, they're over there right now talking.
So he's live?
Come on.
Anyway, I want to ask this. So lay, when it's a diphthong, it would be leya, but they say it's la. How do they say it? La e.
They say la e.
So it's
la e.
Yeah, they say le-a. They say
le-a.
So like with English, just to let people know, like when you have a diphthong, like a word like fuel, ill. So right, the way you pronounce it when you say fuel, even though it's two, there's the u and the e. You're saying few. You're not saying fu l. You're saying fuel. Correct. It's almost like it's like a blend of two vowels. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
right.
Yeah, you get it.
It's the same as the U sound. They prolong that U, that ooh, with that U. You know when they say like what word?
This is really interesting. I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Apostle.
No,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Apostle.
Yeah, no, I was just saying. Sometimes they'll take that W instead of the W. Why? They take the two U's and put them together and make that Judah sound, that Yahuda sound. You understand when
Right. He's not live, by the way.
I don't know what I'm saying. Right. Because I went to school to the University School of Detroit for a semester, Paleo-Hebrew. My teacher, we used to get in arguments. She was telling me that the W is wrong. There is no W. She said it's a vav. And I said, no, not when you're talking about Paleo-Hebrew. I said, you want to talk about the Ministries or the Masoretic text? Yeah, you got a vav in that. I say, but there's no vav in Paleo-Hebrew. 3 years after being in that class with her, I called up to see how she was doing. And she said, you know what, Apostle, you was right. And she had been teaching for years. She read a Hebrew printed Bible. She been speaking Hebrew for years. And she came and told me, you was right about the why. And I told her, thank you. But I put that to my teacher, the guy that taught me. And Dr. Usapa from law school.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's slipping my mind. You know how we are. I'm 70 years old now.
So, all praise to the Most High.
It's slipping my mind now, but
let me let you get like Sonetter, who isn't quite yet 70, and he still needs a minute. I want to ask Divine if he would address Amat's piece. Amat says Divine didn't pull up one language or verse. So
I don't know. I'm not sure what he's talking about because he sounds like he might be part of Torah Knights. I could be wrong.
Might be.
see, I don't know, but he
Yeah,
sounds like
Lamont is rocking. He rocks with the Torah Knights
okay,
heavy.
so that makes sense because
He's a
when
that brother. He's a cool brother, though.
yeah, he
But
seems like
I wanted you to address it because I'm seeing differently. So could you?
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm trying to show Psalms right here to show how this is how the actual scrolls themselves. I don't know if people actually seen this in person, but these actual scrolls themselves lines up word for what Emmanuel Tov is saying. And if we examine the feature set of what the Masoretic text type is, we'll see it in this Psalms, and it differs from the Psalms that we found in the Judean text, what they call the Judean cave text. There's also Psalms that represent the Yahad community who had scribal traditions that they used to preserve their text. And then also there's caves outside of those Qumran caves that get the designation 4Q, 2Q, whatever. There's caves outside of those, like the Masada caves, that also have texts that were found there as well that are distinct from what the Yahad community had at Qumran, right? So what I'm trying to show, yeah, he's saying there's no diacritics. I know that. Wait, hold on. Sis. Let me say this again because maybe he's not following. I said that the Proto-Masoretic texts do not have vowel pointings on the Kud.
Right.
That's what I said. I said we know it is related because of its feature set. There's morphological feature. The morphology is just the way something is written, right? Like again, I mentioned defective writing. What is the
maybe you need to slow it down and speak to him in German.
No, but actually, I'm glad he's asking these questions in the chat because then it helps us to get Divine to elaborate even more. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. But what I'm saying is he's saying there's no diacritics here. So again, you got to remember, sis, their way of identifying the Masoretic text is vowel pointings in the food. When they don't see it, they'll say, "Oh, that's not Masoretic text." That's because they have not studied these texts. They don't know these feature sets. All you gotta do is pick up a book and read on it and see the consensus on how this is determined. The book that I'm showing y'all, you could just read that book and it will teach you how to identify. So I was trying to go into it on page 29, but I want to show you a physical artifact of what I'm talking about.
And before you go into that, brother, I appreciate you letting me jump in and interject and stop you because now this makes sense to me. Because I always wondered, how did they sit down and even know where to put the vowel point and how to set up the whole system? It must be a foundation of something like this.
It's called the Tiberian vocalization system, right? So Tiberias is the city where the Masoretes were at and where the text itself was developed. So there was a way that they pronounced the Hebrew there. And what they did, because they were scribes that taught people outside of their circles, they added those points to indicate cantillation marks, vowels, and other features that are Hebrew, like the dagesh, which is like the dot in the middle of some words, like in the PL stem and others, that they added these feature sets to help teach the language, whether it's the verbs, the pronunciation, etc., so that when people see it, they understand how it's functioning in the text. So they created this as a scribal family so that others outside of them can be able to read it and that they can teach it to others. Now, if they never done that, guess what? All the stuff we talking about today, we would not know how to break any of this down. Because suffice to say, where all this research is coming from in the realm of Semitic languages, none of these brothers and sisters are pioneers of that. I'm not. Apostle Zakan is not. The brothers and Torah Knights are not. They're getting it from information that was already laid down prior. And without the decipherment of the Hebrew in the Masoretic text, you would have to go to rabbis and you have to go to astute Jews to understand how is this said, how do you pronounce that, or find Jews in other regions that may happen to have a text, because a lot of them did not have text, right? And try to get them to understand, well, how do you say this and how do you say that? So it makes it easy for the literary examination of the Hebrew language that's called classical Hebrew now. So classical Hebrew goes from the Iron Age period all the way from the inscriptions in the Iron Age period, all the way to about the Mishnaic Hebrew, right? All of that is considered classical Hebrew. Any Hebrew that comes after that, like modern Hebrew spoken today, that's not the same thing as classical Hebrew. It's a separate designation, all right? Like, for example, there's no consecutive wavs in modern Hebrew. So if somebody was to write modern Hebrew to me and I said, hey, tell me that story again, write it in a narrative, and if they wrote it out in a narrative today in Israel, they would not have the consecutive wav, which is a feature of biblical or classical Hebrew. So I would be able to distinguish the two, like, oh, okay, he's referring to some other kind of Hebrew as opposed to the one that I find in the text itself, right? So again, there are feature sets that we know how to identify to know what we're talking about, because these texts has been examined long before we were born, and tons of research has been laid down prior. Now, my thing is, I have no problem with an opinion that goes against the consensus. I have opinions that go against the consensus, right? But I can mechanically explicate what those things are so that people can understand where the impasse is between my position and the consensus. There's always a minority perspective out there. That's why I said, if y'all have a source, give it, because even minority positions have sources. They don't have any. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, how you're deriving it. Then he says, when you go to Arabic, in Arabic, it says ABC. Yeah, but Arabic has completely different rules for pronunciation in Hebrew. They're sister languages. They're not the same language. So
Right.
you cannot.
I would say cousins.
Yes, you got, yeah, or cousins, right? You cannot
Yeah,
force
I would
the
say cousins.
rules of one onto the other because they're in the same Afro-Asiatic family. That's not how language works. Just like when he mentioned the aleph suffix in Aramaic. Well, that's a feature set that you find in Aramaic. That doesn't exist in Hebrew.
Right.
So the problem is this.
Right.
If I'm looking at that feature and I force that feature onto the Hebrew, guess what happens? You're creating a brand new language that did not exist, because you're forcing a system of rules for one particular language onto a sister, brother, or cousin language. And that's not how linguistics do their work. That's not how it works.
Right.
So last thing, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna bow out. I just want to show, because I could be here all day. Maybe we do a separate show in the pod. Yeah,
I would love to bring you on for a lot of stuff. I want to ask you: Are you even interested in doing a debate maybe on this against the Torah Knights?
Bring the brother Devon back, or Judah. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is.
Judah's supposed to be the boss.
Well, I want to see if Divine is interested in doing a formal debate, because this is awesome to me. I love it.
But here's the issue that I have. I only have one issue. They have to bring academic source material for their vocalization system. If they cannot produce one, if they simply say, "Oh, just go to Arabic," what scholar says that? What school of scholarship says that? Where are you deriving this from? You are looking at things and making an association that prior did not exist. You're doing that because you are looking at it from a modern perspective and ignoring the corpus of work in that field. That's not how you do scholarship. So if they can produce their vocalization that's written by a scholar with degrees that actually says, look, I've looked at all Semitic languages and this is how I come up with A, B, and C, then I would yield. Even the name that I use for the Most High, like the name that I use for the Most High, is the most archaic rendering of the name. It's found in Amarna West and the Temple of Soleb. And this is in Egypt and Nubia, right? They have a toponym that's used for a Shashu people group that was seized and bound, and they have Yod He Wav. That same Yod He Wav is a theophoric suffix that's found in the Iron Age 1 and Iron Age 2, where we get our ceramics letters, right? Like Telerod, we find those names. That's the Astrachans of Samaria, or the Samaritan Astrakhan, which is a list of letters in which people write on scribe what they're dedicating to the temple, whether it's oil, whether it's grape, whether it's sheep, oxen. This stuff is not biblical because it's outside the Bible, but it represents the early forms of Hebrew. So what I'm saying is they would have to produce something from some scholar. It could be a scholar of color, because all my scholars are not white. Matter of fact, I'll come on here with just black scholars. How about I do that? And then ask them to bring black scholars with scholarship on the vocalization that they have. So if they say, yes, we have that material, then I'll do the debate. No problem. Right. Okay. And I'll just use ethnic people that are non-white ethnic sources. I won't even use a white person because
Well, no, you know what? I don't find that necessary. We'd use all valid sources. We're not doing all that. You don't have to do that. Any source that's valid. It doesn't matter if it's from a white, a Chinese. If it's a valid source that can be vetted, and you can bring that source. So,
can you bring out AMTZ? I'll debate him. Tell him to set up a debate with him. No, I'm
serious. I'm listening too.
Yeah, Judah first, man. Let's get Judah settled first, man.
No. Somebody else could take out Judah. Judah's not here, so I can't say nothing in juxtaposition of Judah because he's not present. AMTZ is present. He's representing that camp, so I will debate him. How about that?
Okay. And you know what that said? He is actually a student of Judah's. So
I want to do that because you take care of the balls. You knock out the underlings.
But I would like to get the you said you're going to bring drop the PDF or something to one of these
I'm
books.
gonna do that right now.
Definitely want to read that.
It so that y'all have it. And then I just wanted to end off with the other sources that people can see them. And if anybody's interested, my email address, I drop it in the chat. You can email from whatever source that you've seen. I'll make sure I give it to you. If you have any questions, just let me know. And also, I have a Patreon where this is what we talk about all the time on Patreon, right? We talk about these type of questions. We do textual criticism. We analyze text. We ask questions. We go to the sources. We have a full spectrum, a full gamut analysis of the language. And again, this is a field of study that I'm involved in. I never say I'm a master teacher. I'm not a master teacher of Hebrew. I'm not considered a linguist.
Oh, he's saying he's a master student of the Torah. Okay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I have an intermediate level and understanding of Hebrew and sister languages, so that way I can perform what my scholarship is in. My scholarship is in comparative sister cultures to the Hebrew Bible. The Hebrew Bible's background against ancient Semitic languages, ancient Semitic cultures, just looking at feature sets and doing analytical work, because that's my degrees in analytical work. That's what I do. I have it in my theological degree, and I also have it in IT because I work in IT. I work on syntax, languages, codes, all of that, right? So I analyze these things. So I'm not like these guys that come in and say, yeah, I'm a master teacher. But where's your degree if you're a master teacher? Prove it. Go through all the scrutiny of academia for 4, 6, 8 years. Get your degree to prove that that's who you are. If that's who you say you are, I don't say nothing like that because sis, I'm always a student, right? But I learned enough so I can do these type of discussions. And then if I fall short, guess what I do? I point to scholars who are above my pay grade, and you can bring that argument up with them. No problem. Write a paper. I'm part of the SBL, ASOR, ARCE. Write a paper. I'll take your paper and submit it because I'm part of these societies and have them critique and review it. To my brothers on Torah Knights, y'all write a paper. I'll submit it to SBL for you. They have a session coming up this fall, and I'll submit it there for you with your name on it and everything. Have scholars critique it. Just let me know. I'll submit it for you. Just write the paper and I'll submit it.
Sounds like a gift to me.
You'll see it in the chat. I think I dropped it in the chat. Oh no, I'm in the wrong chat. Hold on. They just whatever this chat is for the live stream, they're blocking my links. I don't know
what. Oh, you know what? Drop the on the main channel in Sign Editor Studios. You don't have a wrench?
No, I don't have a wrench. I don't know.
I'm gonna give you a wrench right now.
Not on this channel. Yeah, not on this channel. I don't have it on this channel.
What channel are you on?
So the channel that I have a wrench on is not this one, not the Debate Coliseum.
Okay, which channel are you trying to drop the links?
Well, I'm on the Debate Coliseum. Is that the one that you're on?
I'm gonna go in there and give you a wrench. I'm gonna give you the wrench, and then you can drop the links there.
Okay, yeah, because I'll put them there. So let me just put 2 other things. My email. So if there's anything else that I said, if I'm wrong, I stand corrected. I don't care about knowing everything. See, these guys, their whole dogma is established on being the authority and appealing to themselves.
Right. They got to be right.
Correct. Yeah. My thing is,
they got to be right.
I say, look, I can be wrong. That's fine, but this is my source. At least I'm giving you source material from what I'm saying. They're not providing that. And that is the difficulty for somebody who is going to look at this at an academic level and say, wait, where's the provenance of this idea? Who you saying developed it? And if it goes back to Torah Knights, then that's problematic. It's going to be like, okay, well, how did y'all come up with this? Have you looked at these texts? Have you looked at, so in scholarship, it's ever evolving. You're always going to be wrong at some point because it's self-correcting, like any other science. When we discovered new information, things are going to be outdated and need to be updated. So that means you have to be able to say things without absolutism. What I'm saying now is based on the research that I have today. This can change tomorrow, next week, next year. That is how the science works. Let me show one thing on camera too. All right. So on camera, when we talk about looking at updates and how the language changes, how it morphs over time, you got to look at sources. Oh, can you remove that real quick, sis?
Oh, sure. Just a second. And I gave you the, you have the manager to drop the links now.
Okay. So you see these books?
Yes.
Advances in the study of Greek, advances in the study of biblical Hebrew and Aramaic. Books like this is what you read from scholars in the field to know how there are shifts, changes, and gradual nuances that are now introduced into the language when we discover new texts, when we discover new sister texts, when we discover new languages and new texts from other cultures. The language gets updated. When new scholarship through PhD dissertations are provided and research is built off of that in those fields of discipline that those scholars are in, more information is added to the pool of scholarship. And this is why when they're not reading this stuff, it makes it difficult for me to see, okay, well, at what stage of understanding of the language are you at? And that's what I try to assess by asking certain questions. And then I realize, okay, they may not know this. Let me share it. So my thing's not to put them down. I'm not saying that these brothers are wrong. I say these brothers doing a valiant effort, what they do. And I told Judah and Nazareth this years ago, right? I respect those brothers, respect what they're doing. But if you want to take that and bring it to an academic discussion, then you have to have source material. You can't just say, look at Arabic. That's not how it works. It don't work like that. No scholar says, look at Arabic in order for you to know Hebrew. No, the Arabic itself, Old Arabic precedes the classical Arabic that you find in the Quran and the modern Arabic that's spoken today. And there's tons of dialects, right? The Old Arabic is found in inscriptions in Yemen. There are different features in that Arabic than the classical Arabic found in the Quran. So are we looking at the classical Arabic, the modern Arabic, or the Old Arabic from the Old Arabic inscriptions in South Arabia? What are we looking at? So when they say this stuff to you, you have to ask them these questions to find out where they're at. If I say they're doing late Arabic, I'm saying, okay, so if you're doing late Arabic, well, we have a timeline for when that comes about. That doesn't align with the Hebrew you said is going back to the Iron Age period. So then now we got to deal with those questions. And I said, okay, well, if you're saying that, can you show me like an academic source? I can go read somebody who has an actual degree and has put 20, 30, 40, 50 years of their life. Like this brother I mentioned, Emmanuel Tove, who's not white, by the way, that he put in 45 years of work and study before that book was even. I want to know who are they sharing with us so we can read this material. They don't have it, right? They're going to Google and say, look, I'm going to Google this. Listen to how this is sound. Wait. But why is this sound that way? Can you give us a scholar who goes over vocalization of Arabic that can give us those details? I have those sources. Let me show them real quick, sis, and I'm out. I don't want to take up your time.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Definitely.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
Because anybody that wants these books, let me know. I got you. Right? This is not information for just Divine. This is for everybody. I don't care if you're a Hebrew, Israelite, a Jew. I don't care if you're a Hindu, if you're Kemetic. This knowledge is for everybody. I don't keep secrets. Oh, because you don't know Hebrew. I'm going to give it to you. Here, read it. So we can have a more equal discussion, right? I don't believe in ambush scholarship, right? So I'm bringing it up right now. Let me know if you see it, sis.
Okay. Yes, we see it. There it is.
Okay. So I'm going to stop reading this, but this book, I put it in the chat. So anybody can see the link, click on it. Let me know if it works. If it doesn't work, I'll repost it, right? And then let me show you these other sources that if y'all are interested, let me know. Just email me, put my email there. I'll share it with you. But these other sources go more into detail to what we're talking about. So the first source here, this is called the text of the, hold on, let me go to this. This is called the text of the Old Testament, an introduction to the Biblia Hebraica, the third edition, revised and expanded by Alexander Achilles Fisher, translated by Errol F. Rose. That's the third edition, right? And when we go down, what I wanted to just read is just quick paragraph. Go down to past the introduction right here. So it says, as in all, let me make it bigger so everybody can see it. As in all Semitic languages, the lexical meaning of a word. Oh, wait. Pasto, also, if you want to do full screen, if you're in a PDF, hit F11, function 11 at the top of your keyboard. And what it's going to do is show the entire page, okay? Or you can hit Control plus, and it'll zoom in like I just did, and Control.
Okay, just did that.
Yep, and it'll zoom out. Yep.
Okay.
Right, so as in all Semitic languages, the
I was looking in I think I got that book.
This one, yeah. I
think I got it too. I'm just looking behind me.
Yep. So you have the lexical meaning of a word is associated with the consonants, usually 3, called its root or shoresh in Hebrew. Words in grammatical forms are made by the addition of vowels, prefix, medials, and suffix. Medials is anything in between a suffix and a prefix, right? Prefix is what starts the word, suffix was ends the word, and vowels are in between. So in Hebrew, you have what's called a CVC. CVC. So C is consonant, V is vowel. That is how it's structured. CVC. So that is what you're looking for whenever somebody's talking about Hebrew. Because you're trying, if they have some kind of new form that you may have never heard of or is unique, You're like, okay, can you tell me the CVC for that? What's the consonant, verb, consonant, or consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, or consonant, vowel? When you start asking these questions and it's difficult from the answer, then that means they need to do further study. Doesn't mean they're stupid, they're ignorant. They just need to do further study. For example, from the root katab or katab, to write, are formed katab and katab, right? He wrote. So this right here is going to be your wav yod. Right? He wrote. This is what I call the consecutive wav, right? He wrote and written, something that is written, or a book, right? It says the text is described as a consonantal text because vowels are spoken but not written. As a result, the same form may frequently be read without various vowel patterns, depending on the context, producing various pronunciations and meanings. As an aid to clarity, Hebrew developed a system known as what? Matres lecciones, or mother reading, or mother lection, right? Or plain writing, full writing, with the consonants wav and yod, and sometimes aleph and hey, that's what I mentioned earlier, used to indicate what? Long vowels. So you see where he took the aleph and he gives it a short e sound like the zere and the pointings in Masoretic text. He's violating the matres lecciones vowel system. So he says, well, what we have is a derivation from that, but you complete derive from it because you're giving short vowel sounds to aleph. So you're not even using matres. That's why I know he has no providence in scholarship for that rendering. It doesn't exist. Right. But I digress. We debate. He's going to have to pull the sources. But this did not fully eliminate the possibility of ambiguity in the transmission of the biblical text. Therefore, in the early medieval period, Jewish scholars called Masoretes developed a comprehensive system of vowel signs. So what does this mean? Let me say this for the record. I said it 4 times already. The Masoretic text is a text, even if you take away the vowel pointings. And that text type, right, the features that make that text unique can be found as far back as 50 CE in the Masada caves and the Psalms rendering that I showed you on that website.
There you go.
Transcriptions that we can read it and show you how the morphology differs. It's not the same. Right. It says this consisted of points and strokes written above or below the letters to produce a vocalized or pointed text. Occasionally, the pointed text is referred to as the Masoretic text, MT or M. Remember you saw that M, sis? And you said, well, what is that? That means Masoretic text. That's a designation that they give that class of manuscript. Right. That's all that means. Okay. Though this term is ambiguous, as it may refer not only to the pointed text, watch this, established by the Masoretes, but to their unpointed text as well. See, these brothers don't read the unpointed text. It goes all the way back to 50 CE, up until when they added these pointers in the Middle Ages to the codices that we have today, which is the Aleppo and Leningrad codices. A codex just typically means a book of Gutenberg printing press, right? And this normally came about in about the 1st, 2nd century CE, when you have what would be the precursor to the modern day book, right? They would have vellum, right? They have leather on the outsides, and then they would have the papyri folded inside, right? And it says, and then it breaks down things like telemetry, because I would have to ask them about telemetry if they know how to identify telemetry, because you know, when you understand how that works, you can look at bicolors, tricolors, and be able to identify that methodology where it comes from the Ugaritic text that help us to discern poetical units and forms that's in the Hebrew text. I would have to ask them these questions because when you get to the poetical text, they have a very nuanced system for how you are pronouncing it than you do the narrative text. Then I'll have to get into that conversation with them as well. What is your, let me see the best word to say it, your mathematical formula of how you identify whether something can be identified as poetic or not, or using telemetry, or use some other kind of method for us to understand how this works. And again, is it pre-exilic? Is it exilic? Or is it post-exilic? Because a lot of our understanding comes from post-exilic works because we don't have full extent Bibles from the pre-exilic period. So we have to reverse engineer our understanding from what we have currently and work our way all the way back. And then you got to look at other West Semitic languages like Amorite, like Ugaritic. These are all West Semitic languages that have precursors before the Hebrew Bible is found in a written form. You got to study these languages and these systems. Glosses exist. Then I got to ask them about glosses and loanwords. The brother mentioned earlier, what's his name? Davon? I keep messing his name up.
Davion.
There you
He
go. So
has Devion on his, but he goes by Devion.
yeah, Devion mentioned Akkadian. He said it to you earlier, right, Apostle? Well,
Yeah.
Akkadian is designated as East Semitic, right? And there are forms to it to help us identify that it's a Semitic language, but it has features that make it a completely different language altogether. But did you know that there's some Akkadian words in the Hebrew Bible? There are also Assyrian words in the Hebrew Bible. There's Egyptian words in the Hebrew Bible. You know, these words themselves have their own rule set, but they're found in the Bible. If your vocalization system ignores the provenance for where these loan words and these glosses derive from, it goes to show that this system that you're inventing has holes in it and gaps that need to be filled. That's why I do a gap analysis with anybody that makes a proposition in regards to their knowledge and the subject matter to see whether or not they've created bridges over these glosses that scholars today have either ambiguity in explaining, or there's not a final consensus on. I want to see how you worked out these problems that these other scholars apparently they know nothing about. This is reverse engineering. Same way, if I come across a line of code, a string of code, and somebody wrote this string of code, I had to figure out, well, what rules are they using? So I know, what are you using? Are you using C#? Are you using JSON? Are you using my favorite, which is Python? Are you using some other kind of script? Like what is the rules here? What is the syntax here? Looking at the strings, okay, how do you open and end this particular script? You're looking at features to identify, okay, what is this? If somebody can't explain certain, nuances in that, then they don't understand the actual code that's being written. You may know a little bit of it because you look for patterns, and human beings psychologically, we look for patterns, right? That's what helps us to understand things. But when you're looking at patterns for stuff you have not enough knowledge on, then it creates difficulty. So again, in the script part right here, the Hebrew square, what they wrote about this, they loved in the Achaemenid dynasty, right, or empire here. This is why they call it the Assyrian script. Reason why it's called the square, because how it was originally written for scribes, they would use these square boxes and then they would write that in there. That is how they're taught to write the script. They would create a square, just like today we have like loose leaf paper and we have lines. And it's like, okay, you have to have these letters in this line, but this letter can come outside the line. This can go outside the line. This is how the scribes write text. When we look at text, we're not just looking at what the text says, but also the features and style of the scribe that's writing it. Scribal schools that produces text. Like when you go to Ugaritic, which is modern day Rosh Shamra, you'll see in that archive all types of languages. They have Eblite text there. They have Assyrian text there. They have Ugaritic text there. They have what's the other one? Akkadian text there, because that was a scribal center where scribes will go to learn how to write various texts. And a lot of these scribes will be hired as interpreters. Like, for example, when we look at Egypt, we had the Marna text as correspondence in Akkadian between the Semitic peoples who were their vassals that was in what we call modern day Palestine, and that was being sent to the Egyptian Nusuk Biti. There was two of them that during that time period where these correspondents will go. Well, the Egyptians will have to have a scribe that is able to read both languages or is bilingual. And if he's bilingual, he's fluent in both languages, because the interpreter was the difference between war and peace, just like today. So when you learn these scribal systems and these styles of the scribes, right? Sometimes scribes will encode messages in their texts. We discovered that as well, and found secret societies and so forth amongst the scribes themselves. So what I'm saying is, when you learn it, again, the script is just representing the oral language. It doesn't matter if I'm using Morse code, right? If I have enough differentiation between the script, meaning that represents each consonant, then I can write Hebrew. With the IPA, I can write Hebrew, right? The International Phonetic Alphabet, I can write Hebrew. You can write any language with IPA. If people don't know what IPA is, look it up. Linguists know this. They understand this. So when somebody comes to me and saying, well, there's rules that you're inventing, I'm like, man, you are superseding and sidestepping this whole corpus of scholarship that exists on this subject matter, on this discipline. You're ignoring it. You're throwing it out the window. At least examine it and just say, look, I went through all of that, and this is my conclusion. Because if I was writing a paper in refutation of what they're saying, I would say, where's the provenance of scholarship? What school of thought are you deriving this from? Who have wrote this work on this at this time that you said that this is when this understanding existed? That's what scholars do. They look for the provenance of ideas. They always source other scholars prior to them, and they always speak about the current consensus and why they agree or disagree with it. This is why appendices exist. This is why footnotes exist. This is why marginal notes exist. All this exists when you are writing a paper to show that you are well-versed in the subject matter. If you're not quoting the right people and writing the right sources, they're going to look at it and be like, well, this must be outdated. This must be somebody who is an autodidact that's deriving information upon his own observation, which is okay. You know, this is what's called civilian research. But if you don't write papers citing that you know the sources who are writing this, it makes it very difficult for a scholar to follow your work. And that's why I asked them what your sources are. Go into Google and type it in Arabic word. What? That's your source? Not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying is that all you have? If that's the case, I don't know how I can debate that. Right? Because I debate scholarship. I debate works of other authors in that field or discipline of study that's produced work on the subject matter. I cite them. When I wrote my papers, I had to cite people. So I can't cite a Google tool that you're using online. I can't cite that. What's the algorithm? I can't cite that.
You know what we should do is have a weigh-in.
Yeah.
And establish or get this stuff established from the get-go. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, we should do a weigh-in, get them together and do a weigh-in and let them establish this stuff, get all this stuff straightened out.
Sounds good. I think Judah would be interested in that. Yeah, sounds great. Dactylology, super chat $2 and asked, can you explain how to read a gloss, please? But that sounds like a great idea.
So glosses are found like in the book of Psalms. So scholars had some words like the word for moss, like a mossy type of plant thing. And they were reading in the Psalms. I forget which Psalms it is at the moment because I don't have my notes in front of me. But when they went and they looked at the Ugaritic text and they found something very similar to that. GDN's Capone. I do, brother. It's Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. Can somebody drop the link again? I think one of the admins did it earlier in the pod.
Right. And whoever's in there, I know it's late, please drop it. I'll actually go get it if you guys have it. You do have a wrench now to drop everything that you wanted to drop before in both channels. You can do that. And Divine, you do need to come in and do a lesson like this. Like, I appreciate you coming in, but we need to schedule you. You can schedule through me.
Okay. Yeah, so, this is just freestyle right now. Right?
I know.
Yeah, based on.
I mean, when I first came to Sinai, I used to see Divine over here all the time.
Yeah. So that question for the gloss. I don't know who was that said the gloss. The person that
was dactylology.
Yeah, so what you can do, email me and I'll send you the book that goes in depth in glosses in Hebrew and how we have to consist the languages. So pretty much a gloss is a word, like for example, the word sefer, right? Or some say sefer. What does the word sefer mean?
A sefer,
right?
Of a gloss.
I thought it meant stone.
Right? Wait. Say that again. I heard you, Apostle. What did you say, Napa?
Stone.
You said stone?
I thought it did. I don't know.
No. So
no, she's talking about Peter's name.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, not sefer. Yeah. Sefer.
So it's sefer like the language. Yeah, I know. I don't know that. Can you tell?
So we translate that as book, right?
Book.
That's ahistorical. Books didn't exist in the Iron Age period. That is one linguistic gloss. So it means that
they were scrolls.
So why would it be called sefer? Like a tablet?
No, it could be a sefer is anything that has been written on, very similar to what we say kitab or katab, which means something that's written. Mm-hmm. So a sefer is something that is written on, the medium in which something is written on. Books did not exist when that word existed. There was no such thing as a book, right? So they had scrolls, right, that existed, which things are written on, and or inscriptions in rock, which is a petroglyph. Right. So petra, the word rock, glyph is something that's written, right? So a petroglyph. So that's a linguistic gloss, because when I look at that as a translator and I said, okay, this is the Hebrew, this is the English. How can I make this word make sense in English to people who maybe not know what a scroll is, right? So maybe I'm writing it for English group that has, let's say, high school dropouts, and they don't know nothing about that. What is something in modern time that I can align with it that that they will understand? So instead of saying scroll, right, I would say book, because they understand it's the same context concept. It's something that is written in, that holds and houses, or is a domain for information to be passed on from the author to a recipient audience, right? So when somebody translates it as book, and somebody goes back who starts learning the language and the history and say, wait, that's not a good translation because it's not historically accurate. Scroll would be more accurate because that is the medium in which they wrote on at that time to house information that can be legibly understood by somebody who is trained to be able to read that language, right? So that's an example of one gloss, and we find that in a lot of words that are uncertain. So when you go to Emmanuel Toll's work, he lists out tons of works, and T. Morocco and others lists out tons of words that is uncertain. That means we don't know. A good book to read a lot of uncertain idioms and words is the book of Job. If you get a modern critical edition Bible like the ESV and look at the footnotes in the book of Job, you're going to find a whole lot of them, or the NET. And the reason for that, because they just don't know what these words mean. But what happens is, as they uncover more Semitic texts from sister cultures, they help to resolve these glosses, because what happens is you read that in a context that's different than the context in the Bible, using the same word, same root, and then you say, wait a second, this means a mossy this, but over here we translated that as some kind of other plant. Oh, I see, because moss is developed in a watery area where there's a lot of water, and like moss or algae, other things grow from out of that. So it's not actually a plant that's growing from it. The author is talking about the moss because he's using other parallels to explain what that thing is. So once we understand it in a sister language, then we look at that root, we find that same root in the Hebrew, like in the Psalms, and then we match it up and say, oh, if I translate it as this word instead of what scholars thought it was before, to how it's used in the sister language, it makes more sense. That's why he's saying it comes up as the moss from out of the murky waters or this region. Right. He's referring to in a place name. So place names in Hebrew are very important because you have to understand the ecology of the environment. So if an author is talking about mountains or valleys or ravines or a wadi, which is an empty riverbed, you have to have knowledge of that region. And if they're speaking about things and say, just like the mount of the dew that comes from Mount Hermon, well, what do you mean the dew from Mount Hermon? This is why atlases are important, because they give you pictures and they explain the ecology of the environment that is referenced by the author. So a lot of these things, when you study the language, it's not just the language you're studying. You got to study the culture, the environment, the social, political, and economic factors that influence words. Why certain words are borrowed, which are called loan words. You have a donor language that the word is coming from, and a recipient language that receives that word. It's also a chronological marker to tell you when this was possibly written, because it had to be written at the time where the donor language existed. That's why when people say that the Hebrew we have today in the Bible goes all the way back to creation, I know some brothers believe that, and that's fine, but that's the language. The moment that you have loan words, you have a problem. You have a big problem that, not saying can't be reconciled, but a question has to be asked to say, well, how do you reconcile this then? Again, I'm just right now dealing with scholarship, not my own personal beliefs, my subscriptions. I'm just putting on the table what scholars say, where the consensus is, and we can argue against that. But these books that you see here, the Semitic languages, this breaks down every Semitic language, from the dead languages all the way to the modern languages. And if you want to know how far back Semitic languages go, they go back to about 5200 BCE in Proto-Semitic. Yeah. A paper I have on that, if anybody's interested, on the phylogenetic Bayesian methodology that's used to discern or deduce how far back a language go. There's a whole model that's used to examine Semitic languages to find out how far back it go and the branches, where they branch off at. So when his brother says Arabic, and he's saying that that represents the Iron Age Hebrew, that is the precursor to the biblical Hebrew we have today, we have problems because of periods, and we have problems because of the branches that make it before you get to that form of Aramaic or that form of Arabic or that form of Hebrew. You have to have a conversation with people that make these assertions to see if they are well studied in the claim. An assertion, just by saying it, does not make it a claim without valid evidence to substantiate it. And that evidence has to form what we call the preponderance of the evidence, which means you have to give me an overwhelming majority of data in order to side with your position, ruling out over the common consensus. So this is the type of stuff that we actually have to really dive in and talk and have these conversations about language, just to see where all of us need help. I need help in the language. I'm still learning. I'm not, you know, a master scholar in this, but I know enough to have these conversations, enough to follow along when they're being discussed, and enough to at least show some sources so that people who don't know the conversation can get introduced to it. You ain't got to be an Israelite to learn this stuff, right? You ain't got to be a Muslim to learn this stuff. You ain't got to be a Hindu, a chemic, an atheist. This is just information and a discipline of study that people are just intrigued in. People get degrees in this and they care nothing about the religious aspect. You know what I'm saying? They just want to know the knowledge. So I'm just sharing that knowledge so everybody can weigh in on it. When they read it, we have equal knowledge, and then we can then discuss it because there's a level playing field and there's no ambush scholarship. And I yield.
So I will stop sharing this, and I will let you brothers have been here for almost 5 hours, at least about, at least Apostle has. You've probably been here for about 2-3 hours, Divine. Apostle wants to close out, but Divine, if you want to just, you know, if you want to hang out and wait for him to close out, or you could close out first.
That's an elder. Yes, that's how you do it culturally. I'm not going nowhere till he's finished. When he says it's okay to go, then I'm gonna leave. When you say it's okay to go as the host, then I'll leave. It's all up to y'all.
That is beautiful. That's why I always am. It's always a real pleasure to have you here, Divine, because you show people. You know, we talk about being an ancient people and everybody's Israelites, but the most deplorable behavior goes on in the community between all of us. So I love when you come in and you can be like set an example on how we should act as people in general, especially Israelites. So